You didn't care what it take. You just had to have your way. Tried to break me down until I had no fight. You said I brought this on myself. You can't blame anyone else. It's not my fault. You knew it was unright. A bird of fire lives inside of me. Let my tears revive me like a phoenix rising from the ashes in these broken wings. I am born again from out of these ashes like a phoenix rising. Like a phoenix rising. You locked my heart in a cage, trapped me like your prey, tried to hunt me down. I will survive. Taking back what is mine. I won't apologize or be compromised. I'm ready to ignite. A bird of fire lives inside of me. Let my tears revive me like a phoenix rising from the ashes in these broken wings. I am born again from out of these ashes like a phoenix rising. Like a phoenix rising. I won't be defined by what you did that night. You can't hurt me now. I'll come back to life. A bird of fire lives inside of me. Let my tears revive me like a phoenix rising from the ashes in these broken wings. I am born again like a phoenix rising. A bird of fire lives inside of me. Like a phoenix rising from the ashes in these broken wings. I am born again from out of these ashes like a phoenix rising. Like a phoenix rising.
Dr. Odin's American Grandstand, where you can hear the latest records that nobody else has. I need a bath. I feel used, abused. You know, I feel I just terrible. What, you're prostituting my face and name for some girl you're trying to date's music. Jeez, I definitely feel used. Yeah, I'm, she's not bad. She sounds, she has a very familiar quality. Not the chick that did.
My
not
phone's
the
dropping
chick that
already.
did Jungle Book, or what? Not the Ice Princess one. Before her, like the generation before her, there was a female vocalist that was really renowned. I think she's dead now. I think she committed suicide actually, or something like that. Yeah, but she had that, I just can't think of which one. I want to say Vanessa something or another, but I don't think that's right. Real long-legged, beautiful, Mrs. Universe kind of thing, right? Some young black one. No, but there was another one, a singer, really famous singer. but was more to the 80s, right? She would be, she'd be in her 60s or 70s now. I just can't think of the name, but anyhow, the voice is very familiar. I spent so much time sitting in a booth, listening to music that it's like all kinds of stuff. No, that was the actress Vanessa Williams, right? Yeah. No, but this girl was she was hanging with a rap prince of the era, one of those shakedown Jobos dudes, with the big rings and the fancy coats, and they drove around in their stolen cars, and you know. And there was they no, and I just can't remember her name. There was a lot of there was a lot of talk about drugs, and there was a lot of talk about domestic fighting and abuse and this and that. At any rate, it's not relevant. The voice, the quality of the voice, was what I was talking about. Okay, interesting young lady. I can definitely see her doing the openings for some Disney fairy princess kind of movie, right? That voice, that kind of singing. Very interesting stuff. At any rate, good evening. Welcome to the return of the thinking man. My name is Robert Banfield, or people call me Cowboy Bob. I don't know why. Go figure. At any rate, welcome to the return of the thinking man. This is June 25th. Interesting time frame for those of you who are in the astrology world. It's the aligning of the planets this weekend, right? So there's this whole like six chain of planets types things that all line up and do this thing on the horizon. Supposed to have some really powerful effects. Don't know. See what happens. Beyond that, I am here as a guest host, as you would say. I don't own this network. I don't own this show. I don't get paid for being here. My ideas, my thoughts, my comments are mine and mine alone. If you don't like them, change the channel. If you want to argue about it, log on and get into it, and we'll go from there. Joining me is I'm going to do this because there's no names on the screens. So, Lori, right? No.
No. Danette?
Who am I sharing the screen with?
Danette?
Danette. Oh, hi. Okay. Hey, 1 minute he's talking about Lori, and then Danette, I don't know. Don't know these
It's all
people.
good.
Hello, Danette. Welcome to the show. Happy to have you here. You're going to play a very intricate role here in the very near future. And sitting up there in the big screen, looking absolutely dumb and ridiculous like usual, is the one and the only himself, immortal, Dr. D, the Odin, or Odorous, whichever. Pray to the Lord Odorous. Um, Take a shower once in a while, dude. Change clothes. Uh, been a real interesting time. This is where I'm going to go with this. It's been a real interesting time in history. There are a lot of things going on. There are two sides to an argument being flared all over the modern media, whether you're on YouTube or Netflix or NBC, CBS, Newsmax, doesn't matter where you go. They're all flapping their jaws in one way or another. And of course, all of them are on one side of the other. Now, I was around when Roe versus Wade first came to the table and all of this began. And I can tell you that from what I've seen on the media in the last 2 days, neither side is telling you the real story. They're both telling you an assumptive story of what Roe versus Wade was all about. But it was what it caused that they're talking about. It's not what it was about. The pure understanding of what Roe versus Wade was about in premise was to force the Congress to open up the regulations so that Medicaid, now let's understand this, Medicaid, CADE, not Medicare. Medicare is for people who are disabled by the IRS's opinion or are over 65 years of age, therefore capable of collecting Social Security, and now they get Medicare. Okay. Medicaid is the program that is available at your state level. Comes in many names, has many fashions, but the federal government calls it Medicaid. And if you look at your paycheck, you will see there's a deduction taken out every payday for Medicaid. What the argument at the time was that a young woman who had been assaulted, was impregnated against her will or desire, was not allowed to get an abortion to terminate that pregnancy because she didn't have the money to pay the private physician or hospital to do it, and the state wouldn't pony up the money because they called it an elective surgery. An elective surgery. In other words, you get a wart removed. It doesn't need to be gone. You want it gone. That's an elective surgery. Okay. So you want to have this surgery. Therefore, it's an elective procedure. So the ruling was that no, Medicare could not deprive her of having this elective surgery done because to the health of the mother, it was an imperative or could be an imperative. And then there was the whole moral issue of the rape, okay, which was a whole nother story. So at any rate, all of this gets into a head, and eventually it ends up in the Supreme Court, and they call it Roe versus Wade. And I don't remember who the players were specifically, but basically it came down to no, the states had to include that as covered. And the federal government would now give money, millions of dollars, when it would have been billions by today's standards, gave them millions of dollars to people like Planned Parenthood so that they could propagate this on-demand operational procedure. And so that also removed certain laws and regulations with regards to what was considered fanticide. And as such, the argument that the mother was murdering the unborn child and therefore she was committing a homicide, therefore, okay, she could be tried and prosecuted. Then there was the argument that came up about the father's rights. So did the mother really have the right to have this done if the father of that child said, no, wait a minute, that's half my child too, and I want the child? So then it was, well, can they force the mother to carry to term against her will? See, and all of this got cooked up into the argument. But what it really came down to was dollars and cents. See, the federal funding that goes to the community programs and people like Planned Parenthood, where a young woman in the community who does not have the insurance or now, see, this is no longer relevant because we've got Affordable Care Act, right? So it's inclusive in the. Everybody is supposed to be on insurance. Everybody. Okay, so at any rate, the argument goes then that, okay, this young woman can go in and she doesn't have to have any money. She can just go have the procedure done because she qualifies under these rules, so she's eligible for Medicaid, and Medicaid has to pay for this. Of course, Medicaid turns around and charges the same bank account that Medicare charges. Okay, so remember, this is still a money grab. So in that process, what they did in court yesterday, or what was released as of yesterday, was essentially stating that principally the whole argument that was laid out back in the day was irrelevant, was not constitutional, was not based on any constitutional language by any interpretation. And so consequently, there was no longer going to be funds given out of the taxpayer coffers to the various programs, to the various communities and states in order to fund on-call free abortions. Now, part of this argument also contributed back to the fact that men were all about making abortion as available as possible because there were a lot of men, married men, professional men, men with reputations, families, okay, in the community who had mistresses, who got pregnant, who he wanted to shell out the $120 and send it out so that she could go get that taken care of real quick. That way he didn't have to have the social embarrassment, or would he be obliged? Because now remember, if you're the father of a child and the mother of that child goes in and seeks social services, in other words, she goes to the county and she said, I'm pregnant. I have no way to support myself. I surely don't have a way to get the medical treatment I need for the prenatal, and I have no way to take care of a baby. And they say, okay, so we'll put you on aid to dependent children. They now will track that father down and they'll throw his ass in jail until he signs papers agreeing to pay child support every month. And the court will decide how much child support that's going to be, depending on how hard it was to track him down in the first place. The harder he is to find, the more he's going to end up paying in child support every month. But remember, that child support does not go to the mother. That child support does not go to the child. That child support goes to the state. And the state then cuts a check to the mother to help her pay her rent and utilities, etc. She gets food stamps, and they get free medical through Medicaid. That's what happened yesterday. Was they just cut off the federal money to Medicaid, right? Which means if you go to Planned Parenthood tomorrow, you're going to have to walk in the door and you're going to have to pay the over-the-counter fees. Find out how fast it becomes just like walking into the ER. You won't be able to. I mean, I guess it right now. I guess it depends on what state you're in, but essentially that's what it is. See, when if they say that there's no longer a mandate for the right to an abortion, that's what it comes down to. If there's no mandate, then there's no money. See, the only reason there was money in the first place was because it was mandated. And since one young lady in one community whose daddy happened to own a chain of department stores, she could afford to go get a private abortion from a very reputable doctor. The girl who was growing up in the projects, who got, stoned one night too much at a party that she shouldn't have been at because she wasn't old enough, and some older boys took advantage of her and she got pregnant, and she's got nowhere to go, right? She's just up the creek without a paddle, as they say. So they said, no, in order to make it fair, then, okay, it has to be available to all young women. All women have this privilege, to all of them. Therefore, in order to assure that the one down here who can't afford it has equal opportunity to the one up here who can afford it, we're going to put a whole lot of money into the middle. And welcome to Planned Parenthood, folks. Okay. And clinics like that, they're not the only one. I don't want to pick on them. Planned Parenthood did very good by me back when my wife was pregnant, and I have nothing to complain about with them as people. But they are based on the ideology of eugenics. And Sanger said it straight out. What her intention, the whole idea behind her drive, her motivation, her fundraising, her books, her lectures, everything, okay, was about creating the perfect Aryan race, which meant eliminating all other contenders, thereby going into low income communities at federal taxpayer dollars and giving young women in those communities abortions to literally get rid of, to sterilize them. And that's what they were doing. It originally got busted out, I think it was in the early 70s, and they shoveled it under real quick. Of course, Vietnam was the big headline of the day, right? So, it was real easy to bury it down in column 5 on page 26. But basically, they got busted, okay, sterilizing young women without their knowledge. So they would put them in, they would give them sedation, they would perform the abortion, but while they were doing the job, they would make sure she could never get pregnant again. And some suggested that they were actually harvesting the eggs. That what they were doing was they were going in and literally vacuum tubing all the eggs out of the young woman so she could never have children. Okay. And then what they were doing with those eggs was selling them for fertilizations for somebody else who was infertile, couldn't produce eggs, but was willing to pay millions of dollars to get some to have a baby. So boom, there was quite a business going on. And the irony of that is I have severe suspicions and reasonable amount of evidence to support those suspicions to suggest that I was very much a part of that myself. That I was born, I was taken, I was adopted, I was literally sold and to a prominent family who could afford it, bought a child and made that child their son and adopted him and had the court change the name and the papers and everything, made it all real legal. Huh? Me. Me. Yeah, see, I was born Carrie Lee. I was born Carrie Lee. And then at some time past that, when I was somewhere between 2.5 and 3.5 years of age, I was adopted and they changed my name to Robert. Right? So Carrie Lee ceased to exist, became Robert. Until I went in the military, and the court came back and said, we can enlist you in the military because you're really Carrie Lee and you were really born here. So you're this old. So let us introduce you to the world of wonders of war. Yes. So I don't find it hard to believe that all this was going on. What is that? Yeah. Okay, so let's delve into that. And I've only got one comment. I have only one comment on the entire subject of abortion. Okay, you had the ability to choose whether or not you would get pregnant. End of conversation. But every female under norm under normal circumstances. Now, obviously, assault is another situation, right? Okay, that's not the same story. Everybody else, every girl who ever went to a party, had a little too much to drink, had a momentary lapse of conscience, and fell in love with some moron she should have never even spoken to in the first place, and ended up in bed with him, and then realized 90 days later that she was definitely pregnant. Okay. She had that choice to not engage in that activity in the first place. Cut and dry. Right. Now they have birth control. They have all kinds of exercises. My wife and I were together for 42 years. We had one child. We had that child at the end of our second year. We were going into our third year together. We had that child. We still had a very active romantic life, and yet we never got pregnant again. Because she said we weren't ever going to do that again. Okay. And she said that while she was trying to pull my face off in the maternity room. Okay. She's giving birth. They're screaming push, and she's going, never again. And I'm going, yes, dear. You know, yeah, no more. And not a problem. Let go of the hair. Let go of the hair. Let go of the, yeah. But yeah, no. So I mean, I'm sorry, but I stand on that platform that first and foremost, this is about personal responsibility, and that this thing that we have now that everybody's so fired up about, if you really break it down, it's sort of like a get out of jail free card in Monopoly. Right. So the federal government's paying for all these abortion clinics to exist. They're subsidizing them, right? Sending in money. Okay. And then, of course, when the young lady goes in and has the procedure done, of course, they turn around and immediately bill that procedure for credits back to whomever, Medicaid, wherever. Right. So they're being paid. They're being compensated. It's quite a good business for them. It's almost like a car wash. Right. They've got them coming in one door and out the other door. Right. They're doing this lickety split. They're doing 8, 10, 12 of these things a day. Okay. They're doing real well. And, but that's what it is. It's so that now I can go out and be irresponsible. I can go out and behave in ways and push the envelope too far. And oops, if I screw up and make a mistake, I can just go over here and have the mistake removed. Ew, I got a problem with what happened to the morality of humanity. Well, to join into a social contract as marital partners in the eyes of the law, the state, and the federal government. Yes. Yes, and then in Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act, they capitalized that, or, they put the dot on the I, crossed the T when they said you have to let the designated partner be on a joint spousal health plan. You can't deny the partner, and you can't deny the partner at the hospital. So if my partner is comatose, then I am the automatic next to go to. Right? Whether there's, they were saying, well, because you're not married in the eyes of the law. Well, in the Affordable Care Act, they made it very clear that that was now not an argument. Okay, if this is a designated partner, if they've gone down to the city hall or they've been married in front of a church, whatever, okay, then this is a designated partner, and therefore they have the first right to what services will or will not be performed. So literally, when it comes down to should we pull the plug and let them go, that's the individual has that right, and I agreeably think they should. I agree with lifestyle. I don't. The whole thing is to me is a little off, but that doesn't mean that they shouldn't have the same rights. Okay, okay. Well, I don't want to touch the whole thing. That's gross. Right? Like it's like we can go to the reservation, and the federal laws, state laws don't administer there. So you can go in and buy a bottle of bourbon from the guy at the gas station. Yeah, right.
No, because my computer reset the settings and I'm recording, so I'm not worrying about it.
PhDs. He claims he's got PhDs.
No, I claim that I'm trying to
I
figure.
think they're
Ah, there we go.
PhDs in Mario Brothers and Pac-Man.
Now go and listen to it. It's on. I have it also being recorded on the other function, so I'm not worrying about it, Bob.
Okay, I don't care. There it is.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
on.
So,
Okay.
Bob, as I was saying, I was double checking, because I didn't see it on this screen, and I was like, okay, where is my mic at? And I was kind of curious, because normally
He's eating cereal at the kitchen table.
who?
Mike.
Mikey?
He'll eat anything.
I
Mikey
bet
will
he
eat
will.
anything.
I bet he will. Mikey's a good kid. He eats.
So the net.
So the Bob, no, let me finish.
Without
Let me finish the
without
statement.
causing an argument or getting in a fight, what is your opinion of what has gone on in the last 48 hours?
Besides
Not
the
necessarily the
insanity.
subject itself, but what's gone on in the last 48 hours.
Oof, there's mixed baggage with it, because I do know someone that used abortions as a form of birth control.
Not miscarriages, but abortions.
Now, would you say that was...
And because now she is no longer going to have that option, now she's going to go get a hysterectomy.
Yeah. Well, there's an argument there. My wife argued for that from the time she was, 30 years old. She had problems, and she kept going, and they never could solve the problems. And she kept saying, why don't you just do this? I don't ever want to have kids anymore. And they said, oh, you're too young.
Oh, she didn't want to ever have kids, Bob?
You're so young. If you might change your mind in 5 years, but if your child passes away, then you're going to say, well, man, why did I do this? Now I can never have another kid. See, this was so Edwardian, historically, Victorian, Edwardian. This was such old thinking, okay, that, because you had to produce heirs for the family, right, routine. That the woman's role in the game, that's what she was there for, right? She was a breeding commodity, to ensure the family tree. But yeah, they finally did get around to giving her one, because it became an emergency situation. It finally flared up to such a point she didn't, they didn't have a choice. So
well, that's what happened with me.
But yeah, I would question though, if doing that is your form of birth control, and you've done it more than once or twice, then do you think that maybe that's a little bit of abusive use of rights?
I would agree.
It is an appropriate form of birth control, right?
The idea is this, Bob. If it's considered an act of birth control, that's your right as well. But here's my statement.
We still have the moral imperatives.
Oh, well, hold on.
Still the moral imperatives. Take the church out of the picture. Take all of it out of the picture.
It still goes back to church and indoctrination, Bob. It still goes back to church and indoctrination.
People could not pass a kitten sitting in the middle of the road with traffic going both ways. There are people who would stop in the middle of traffic and pick up that kitten. Okay, we have a moral imperative. Okay, and how about taking some personal responsibility while we're at it?
Personal responsibility.
Okay? I don't think that's so outrageous to suggest that, hey, I don't care if you're going to play. You want to go play. You want to go to the casino and you want to bet your whole paycheck and the rent and everything and see if you can run it up and have a good time? Fine, that's your prerogative. But then don't come back to me asking me to pay your rent.
Pretty much our argument is, it's not so much as a medical necessity that would be available, but more as those who use it, who actually abuse the privilege. Correct? Is that more?
It does. It seems like there are other ways that you could curtail this problem without having to be constantly running in expecting somebody else to pay for your surgeries.
Right. Yeah.
There's personal responsibility.
Exactly.
And my generation created this. And actually, it wasn't my generation. It was really the 10 years ahead of me. Okay, so it was the true 50s generation, the teenagers of the 50s.
Mhm.
Okay, this was their world. We're still living in the ramifications of their world. Because remember, in the early 60s, these were the people who were screaming, free love.
Mhm.
We should be allowed to love whomever we're with, no strings, no ties, right? These are the people that propagated birth control. You know, that little rack of 28 pills. Okay? This is who they are. You know, they were the ones that were in the universities. They're the ones that became the business executives. They're the ones that became the titans of industry. They're the ones that perpetuated this. They're the ones that elected the elected officials. They're the ones that controlled what was going on in the law, in the courts of law. Okay? They were the lawyers. I asked this of Daryl the other day. We were talking. I said, so what do you think the percentages are in the halls of Congress? And I'm talking the Senate, I'm talking the House of Representatives, I'm talking all the little monkeys that run around underneath them. What do you think the percentages are of law degrees and pre-law degrees? Amongst that, of 100% of those people, how many do you think hold some kind of law degree?
A good handshake.
Paralegal, something, yeah. Okay, so I mean, literally, they had to get there. See, they had to get there. Then they had to make sure that their kids, who would do what they wanted them to do, would follow through.
Right.
So you get the Joe Bidens.
Oh
Well,
my
see,
God.
there were the people that were modeling Joe Biden. So the Joe Biden that walked out and ran for Senate in 1974, I think it was, okay, that Joe Biden was a product of that Harvard, Yale, Ivy League world. He was groomed, he was tuned, he was ready to go. And then they stepped in with their financial engines, and they got him elected in a state that most people can't even find on a map. Where is that? I've heard of it. Is that above Maine? No, is it down? Is it on this side of Pennsylvania? No, where is that? Okay. One of the smallest little communities in the entire country. Smallest populations. Known for making winter coats and maple syrup. God, these people are impressive. He's now the president of the United States. Took him 40 odd years to get there, but he's there. And, I heard somebody make comment today on the talk forums, and they said so most adequately after they got done tearing down the Democratic Party on this and that, and, they're doing the bullet point thing. Bang, 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 bang. And a comment at the end of it, the comment was, well, of course, that's their game. They play the long game. See, they play the long game. And it's like, no, they don't play the long game. They play the short game. The Republicans play the long game. They play their game for 60, 80, 100 years in advance to achieve what they want. Because remember, these are the same people that thrive on the stock market. These are the same people that thrive on the whole conversation of futures. Pork futures, chicken futures, rubber futures, oil futures. Futures. What might be tomorrow, what we can speculate on. We'll gamble on it today, and then we'll see if it pays off later on down the line.
Right, it's about control of money. It's
Yeah.
always...
And it always has been. And what went down, what offends me here isn't what the Supreme Court did. What offends me is the way the two sides are presenting what the Supreme Court did.
Mm-hmm.
See,
Both sides
because
of
if
the
you're over
lie.
here at NBC, they're already telling you, and I mean, they're saying it in an absolute manner, right? So, journalism degree or not, right? You can tell when they're sort of innuating and when they're insinuating, okay? And they're insinuating that that this is going to be the end of same-sex marriage. This is going to be the end of that health insurance program. This is going to be the end of your rights to do this. This is going to be that is not at all what happened. They simply said, no more federal money. Now you have to deal with it at state level.
Well, no.
It
No,
shouldn't be a
no, no,
federal
no, no,
law.
no, no, no,
It
no. It
shouldn't
goes
be.
deeper. Goes deeper.
It belongs in the state.
You
The
still
state
hitting the surface. You still hitting the
let them-
surface. You still on the surface. You still haven't looked at it.
Every state now has to decide whether or not they want to spend money out of their annual tax budget to pay for.
Yesterday I
abortion.
was talking with Dan Perkins. Me and him were having a conversation. I had my federal attorney on the phone with me. So we were sitting there having a conversation. Like I said, you still way on the surface. You haven't even gotten into it yet.
Well, what is underneath it? Say something besides you ain't going nowhere near it, but I don't hear you telling me what it is.
Well, if you ever shut the fuck up, you'd listen. All right, so here's the point of the statement. Number one, the blanket of the federal government is now off of the ideology of abortion. They passed it on to the state level. Whoop-de-doo, says America. Now we get to make a choice. Okay, now, your states get to make the decision. And I gave you the example of the kid driving from Maryland to Pennsylvania. He comes back and he's getting charged. Also, imagine that being a woman who's going to leave her state to go to another state to have an abortion. She comes back and hits a murder charge. If her man took her there, he's going to accessory to murder. Okay, so
not if she had the procedure done legally.
No.
No, that's absolutely wrong. That's not at all.
Are you saying legalities of it? Yes, if it's a medical emergency, your hospital in your location would do it. So you still talking legalities. You haven't even touched the surface of it yet because you haven't gotten what the laws are going to be falling from it. You still haven't touched the laws that are going to come underneath that. Well, by the way,
the weather in the Great Lakes, move to Florida.
Okay, now you're just making a storyline. The next level of this is this.
Not. If you think that having the
every state's going to have something different.
Is so important in your future.
If the federal government doesn't,
it's not legal in Indiana, then maybe you should move to a state.
Where's your constitution? Where's your constitutional rights?
Where is it? Tell me about that. Show me where it says you have a right to have an abortion.
Oh, actuality, I did answer that question. I answered that question yesterday.
It mentions prosperity. It mentions hope and dreams. It doesn't mention euthanasia, nor does it mention abortion.
He's going to do a lot of talking, so I'm going to wait till he finishes.
Nor does it mention compassionate letting go. That's not in the Constitution either.
I want to wait till you finish so I can actually give the points out. Let's go to the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution. How about that? So we can understand what it entails. Because, I mean, people, it's actually, I wrote it in the damn chat yesterday. Why don't I just go read it right directly from the chat room chat? Because this came straight out of also an attorney's mouth. So you can
that makes it God honest truth,
it's a federal attorney. She's a
like I never believe anything any attorney says.
Well, guess what? You're ruled by attorneys on every
inch
of the
shit.
way.
That's why I don't trust them.
Every inch of the way, you're ruled by an attorney. There's always a bookworm, as they say, that knows the law and going to tell you the law.
Excuse me, but I want a second opinion.
Well,
or a third or a fourth. Or my Smith & Wesson.
Well, the reason why I got on the topic with the woman, and she's saying, if her vagina had bullets, would it have rights? I mean, that's a good statement to think about.
It does have bullets.
Shoots
they average anywhere from 6 1/4 pounds to upwards of 11 and 12 pounds. Depends on the size of the bore, just like artillery in the Navy.
That's called cannon
fodder.
Right,
you get all kinds of different size shells that you can shoot. Depends on the size of the bore.
Okay, so I'm going to actually start with...
Did I make that clean enough for you?
No, it's not like cannon.
I tried to
The Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution states that the right of the people to secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable search and seizure shall not be violated.
Okay, so you can't force me to have an abortion. That would be...
Abortion is not mentioned. Yes, that is correct. That is correct. I'm going to state it. It's not mentioned. Well, a lot of things aren't mentioned in the Constitution that are here today. Cell phones. microwave
you
ovens.
see, that's why you have those clowns at Harvard and Yale and Stanford, that are supposed to be the constitutional professors who spend all their time reinterpreting something that's pretty clearly spaced out
Hey,
in the first
Mom.
place. Oh, but they meant to say.
Actually, you should ask Mom. She'll tell you.
See,
But
if
let me
that's the
finish.
case, if the Fourth Amendment is, hey, well, wait a minute. Let me ask you, Professor Odin, if the Fourth Amendment is standard, and we interpret that by today's circumstance and activities, then for the federal government to look into my emails without the proof of pre-existing criminal intents, okay, is illegal. It's illegal for Google to track what I do on the internet.
Is that a subcontractor? Is that a subcontractor? You're gonna keep talking.
In my iPhone. It's
I'm
illegal.
I'm gonna wait.
Violation of the Fourth Amendment.
Depends.
Read it. Base property, paper, item. See, so that cell phone would fall right in that, wouldn't it?
Okay, Bob. Now you're right. Good. Now the state has. So for now on, the state now has the control of what you do, your body, and as an individual, you are no longer free within the states. The reason why because the federal government has released its Fourth Amendment hold on each person in the state.
If the state says, "Thou shalt not hang thy neighbor for parking in front of my garbage can."
Let's go back to this case. The state it is now up to the state what to do with you.
To own a garbage can or have a neighbor.
You know something, Bob? You can talk.
So what you're saying?
I'm challenging what you said.
You're not challenging because you can't hear.
What you're saying is that we've lost all rights to us.
Thank you, and that's what several.
And the government is now saying.
The government, not the government. You're now going to the state.
You were assigned a number, and we own you.
No,
so we have
you're a
rights
state.
to you.
You're state property. You're literally state property.
All they're saying is that we are not going to pay or provide for this surgical procedure.
State property. You gave it to the state.
Have it. They're telling you can't have it here. You can't have it in this town because we don't pay for it in this town.
State property.
We won't subsidize it.
Your state
you'll
property.
Have to go someplace else and get it if you want it. That's all they're saying.
Your state property.
How do
you need to read the decision. Did you read the decision of the court case? If you didn't read it, you need to go back and read it. The decision was really blanketed. Basically, you belong to the state that you're in now.
No, this question belongs to the state.
No, you are legally, according to them, because of the release of Roe versus Wade, fully non-covered by the United States federal, and you are now property of the state that you're in. Now, if your state says if your state, I'm not going to be cut off this time. If your state states that,
I agree with you.
If your state says that you are, since I had to mute the entire channel, since the state says we're not going to do abortions, now guess what? You can go to another state and get it. Okay, go ahead. Now, in my state, you don't do abortions. And guess what? Legally, you are doing when you come back to my state. You just legally killed a child. Now, the state legislature has to make bylaws in order to prevent that. But as of now, since there are now, 25 states that said, hey, guess what? We're banning abortions. Any woman that goes from state A to state B to get an abortion, then back to state A, has just committed murder. Now the problem is then, what is the point of which we consider the fetus a human life? No one's answered that question yet. Well, guess what? Say if I was the state of Georgia and I said we don't want abortion. Well, guess what? That means it's a blanket statement, and guess what? Thank you very much, Tracy. You know what's up. You can be charged with murder. And if you drove her there, you'll be accessory to murder. Because they have not given an age of which a fetus is a living being.
So at what point does this deprive the right of the individual to demonstrate personal responsibility in the first place?
It's state rule, not your rule.
But pregnancy, by most courts, is a choice that you made.
Mm-hmm.
You allowed it to happen. You could have not involved yourself, just like you could have not had those beers and drove that car and got a DUI.
Long
you
story.
could have made the choice. There is responsibility.
Here's the next
right?
part of it. Say the woman's pregnant and she wants an abortion. The man sitting at home wants the baby. She goes across state borders to go get some abortion. She comes back to that state. He says, I wanted that baby. The police are waiting for you right now. You're being arrested for murder. What can you do?
That pretty much exists right now anyhow.
Well, guess what? Now it can be worse. So you're not looking at the depth in which it goes. Well, let me finish my statement since I finished writing this.
Well, I think that's
now,
where paranoid people
now the states are going to have a choice also. They can say we want male babies and not female babies, or female babies and not male babies. And yes, that's discrimination, but the state is going to determine.
Are you in a state? Well, you're not in a state.
Then now,
okay,
next
you're
one.
not in a state. Danette, where are you located?
She's
are you
in
located
Cali.
in a state in this union?
I'm in California.
Okay, and you have a vote, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And all of the other citizens in your state have a vote, right?
Yes.
And if you all went to the ballot box and you voted yay or nay on a particular subject like this one, that would be the outcome of the law of that state, would it not?
Theoretically.
Theoretically, you're talking about California,
Okay,
man.
so the state
I-
has to decide, but it's up to
They
the
make
people
you
in the
feel like
state
you
to
have an
determine
option
their
to-
They
morality.
make you feel like you have a thought in California, but you really don't have nothing.
Right.
That's not about the
They've
truth.
already chose what they want.
They've
They
already-
just make you think that you have a say.
Well, here's the next point.
But that's a whole nother subject.
This
matter.
is what I wrote in earlier as well. Well, now the states will regulate. States will now have control versus the Constitution. This will be the end of all things and dictate the course of things to come for humanity within each district. The Hunger Games. Think about it.
So, but you think random. I don't feel like having my weekend screwed up or have to buy bigger bras in the next 9 months. The genocide of babies is, let's just do that. It's easier. It's simpler. We won't clean the house.
So we
We'll
have a
just wait till
choice.
the bugs overtake it, and then we'll burn it down and build another one. Hey, what the hell? Right? Why should we be responsible for anything?
It's Hunger
Because
Games.
that's a better pathway than the one than your Hunger Games theory.
Well, this is what we're going to be divided into
Your battery's
individual
dying,
states. 50 individual states. Because guess what? That blanket of protection over our Fourth Amendment has been removed. And they have a court leading example.
The Amendment still stands.
The court has removed its hand. Therefore, the United States has removed its hand and the blanket that it has given us as a federal agency.
Because they believe that is a community choice.
And now you're going to let a state
the
dictate.
foundation of this country is still based on the village around the church. And if the village chooses that it is immoral to end without probable reason, to end a child's birth, to terminate a pregnancy, and they say this is immoral and we don't want to do it and we don't want to pay taxes to support it, then that village's right. Now, from their point of view, that village becomes a town, the town becomes a city becomes a county, the county
state becomes your overseer.
Okay, but the biggest thing is they used Roe versus
Wade
as a smokescreen to take away
the election.
A person's rights.
They took your rights away.
Right. So they went through the way of
How
that
did they take? I still don't see how they took your right away. They said if we're not going to provide a service anymore, that's not.
It's not about a service. Look at the decision. Once again, you need to read the decision.
You want to believe that if I leave Kansas, which is dry, no alcohol, and I go across the line to Missouri where there is alcohol.
That's why I just gave you an example of the 16-year-old.
And then I come back across the bridge afterwards.
And you have a can of beer in your car.
Consuming alcohol, that has never happened in the history of the Mississippi River.
And guess
never
what?
Has that happened.
Because why?
Because it's ridiculous. I didn't commit a crime.
Well, hell, a ridiculous act is.
Crime in Kansas.
Okay, so let me give you some ridiculous laws. You can't.
I know there's some ridiculous laws out there, but you never hear them enforced.
Well, guess what? Now that the states are in control.
Oh, you are so paranoid.
Not paranoia.
You don't even live in a freaking state. You live in the D.C.
Thank
if
God
you
it's
had
never
balls, you'd move to a state where you could exercise a vote, where you could participate in the government. But no, you're sitting in the government's lap, and you get to complain about shit that you don't have to participate in.
That's right. Not a state. That's right. You know why? Because the federal protects us here. You don't have the federal. You don't have the federal.
No, I got something better than the federal. Remember when the federal needed to defend itself against a whole bunch of screaming Asians, who did they come get to defend them?
People.
Thank you.
And guess what? At least the first line of defense was actually put up. The difference is, even the state of California, the liberal state of California, the liberal state of New York, the liberal state of Illinois, the liberal state, you get the point, of Michigan. They are going to be, yes, you can have this abortion, blah, blah, blah.
Well, yeah, come move here, be our tax base.
There you go.
Don't give the money to that state, come over here and give it to us.
But, what is the other side for them? See, you got to remember, for every law that is created, there's a loophole put in for something else.
Okay, hang on now. You brought it up, so have you seen, it's been circulating, have you seen the projected map? The states that are likely to hang on to abortion and the states which are likely to either put severe limits on it or literally get rid of it altogether.
And guess what?
As far as the state function. Have you seen that
Yes,
map?
I have.
Okay. Did you notice anything about that map?
All the liberal states said abortion.
No. I'm talking about the way it's laid out, the continent. The ones that are red and the ones that are blue and the ones that are red.
Right.
Okay? All right? And look at it.
It's Democrat, Republican.
They're drawing up the division lines already.
Right.
See, we are easy. We can be
We're going to be state controlled
by being sectionalized. So if they can take the...
There are your districts. Hunger Games.
Turn it into 3 districts.
Oh, thank you.
The government runs the districts, and the districts run the states, and the states, and see, they just added a whole nother layer in there, and this whole argument is nothing but a ploy to get us to agree to help them draw their lines.
And guess what? Y'all allowed
a court ruling. If I told you had to move from Ohio over to Oklahoma, you'd be going, screw you. You don't have the right to tell me I got to move from Ohio to Oklahoma.
But I need to know Oklahoma to
keep the population divided like this.
And then we got to go back and look at the executive orders that were already issued between them. Because people forget that the executive orders are there before the bombshell dropped, and there was some during the bombshell.
Start typing. Type in the power of executive order. Type it in. Look it up.
It's immediate actions.
You're going to find out that the executive order is a mandate from the leader of the government, the administrative office, to the other offices of the government, telling them what they have to do. That is an executive order. The executive is telling the corporation what the corporation will do. Has nothing to do with we the people. An executive order.
We're the fallout guys, buddy.
It is not law. It is only an order from the boss down to his minions.
And guess what?
We are not his minions.
Guess what? Here's an example of an executive order. Okay.
Am I wrong?
No, you're not. But guess what? You don't see the depth of the executive orders. Executive orders fall upon
No,
the
I see
minions,
the
and
ignorance of a
and
bunch
it
of
gives
children
the and it gives
by
these
junction, what's your function,
it
who
gives the
think they
corporate entities.
understand a democracy that isn't a democracy, it's a republic, and they think they understand and accept the idea
It is
that
a
the government
directive.
is cheating and we are all serfs. This has been droned in for the last 40 years, has been droned in from our children at 3 as they grow and become adults, that the government is the father and that we are the children. And that's not how the Constitution is set up, and that's not the way the country is supposed to be run.
But
The government works for the people.
okay,
People's will.
sweetheart, your turn.
My turn as my dinner just got served.
I noticed. You know I had to mess with you. You know that, right?
All that. That's why he said it. He saw you.
So tell us something. Is your state a pro or is it against abortion?
If you have to ask that question, you're nuts.
Hold on
Is it
now.
California
You got to
or the right
remember,
state?
her state has all the immigrants. Her state has a majority of the liberals.
This is true. Do you believe that they underestimate the ideology of the Hispanic population in California? That somehow they think that they're just going to go along with this rather than stick with, 1,800 years of religious history that's very, very, very deep in the Hispanic families.
Well, see, this topic can go in so many different directions. If you're going into the morality of it, the religion of it, or a person's rights about it, I mean, religiously, yeah, they're going to have an issue. Morally, there's an issue.
Well,
Medically, I see there's a necessity. But for taking a person's right away, I don't agree. Your body is your body.
But you told me I had to go get a vaccination.
Oh yeah. Hold on, you mandated it.
My body or does my body?
Hold on. Now, was the mandate an executive order?
Yeah, that everybody just assumed they had to follow when in fact they didn't.
No, you were right about one thing, but you forgot to trickle down.
It was a good suggestion, not something you had to go do.
You forgot something. You're right.
The president
It
doesn't have
is
the power to mandate me to do anything.
Oh yeah, but guess what? Watch this. The president do an executive order. That was a mandate for the vaccination.
Amongst government.
Now you're neither working. You have a place to live, shelter, food, da 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 da. If he said, in order to get your Social Security, you're mandated to get the vaccination if you're going to receive Social Security, he could legally do it.
Well,
Actually,
the bigger
he can't.
picture
He
is
tried. He
you
can't.
have to be vaccinated if you're going to be wanting any food, water, travel,
Yeah.
gasoline.
He can't. Technically,
I mean,
under the law now,
it's
they
just
cannot
a slow
do that.
boil right now.
Excuse
Right?
me.
He can order that the military must get the vaccination because they are receiving a paycheck from the government.
He can mandate the entire federal government to have the shot.
He could not mandate the VA to order that all VA recipients must come in and get vaccinated. He tried, and that never even made it. They threw that out before it ever got to a decision. They said, no, you can't do this. You cannot do this. You really can't tell the people. See, and they retracted. Now think about how it unfolded as it went through as it went through the process of 21. Okay?
No, but he made all employees of Veterans Administration get a shot.
You're not going to get federal funding if your corporation doesn't get its employees to vaccinate. We can't make your employees get vaccinated, but we can cut off your federal funding
That's right.
for refusing to comply. So now you, the company, the corporation, you be the bad guy and tell your employees all line up and get shots. See,
Well,
they couldn't tell the public that they had to do it.
Your way of
And a
survival
whole lot
is
of
being
people
taken
thought that
away.
it was an order they had to follow.
Say it again.
Your way of survival is being taken away. If you want to survive, they're forcing it in a way that you need to be vaccinated. I mean, we're talking about money, survival, your home. I mean, food, everything. If you even want to leave your house, if you want to travel.
Play by our rules or else. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And so they find the people bucking the system, choosing other routes. And so the government has contingency plans upon that. And they're already enacting them. They're squeezing everything away from you and out of you to where you'll be in a position where you will be fully under their control, and it's either their way or
the highway.
What if the subtle goal? What if the subtle goal here is massive and rapid population decline?
Well, that's already happening.
And the best way to do that is to set up the zombie apocalypse, right? So we're right back to the north and the south. Okay? This side's wearing blue uniforms, that side's wearing gray uniforms, and we're all killing each other in the street. And when we all get done and get tired of killing each other, there'll be a whole lot less of us, and they'll have a more manageable population. And we can't blame them. We can only blame ourselves. Right? Because everything they do, and this has been going on since the last Civil War, everything they do is to manipulate it so that it's the people who demand this action. Therefore, I can't be held accountable. Goes right back to the Bible and the story of, and Pontius Pilate washed his hands of it and said, I'll let you people decide, but don't blame me.
Well, he wasn't going to decide anything anyway, because it was the Jewish people that were bringing the charges. They were just going to their governor to get the Roman authority, but they were going to kill him anyway.
But now, you don't like, I don't like Homeland Security. I don't like the fact that even the concept of it exists.
What is Homeland Security?
Okay, but they can say the people demanded it. After 9/11, the people demanded it.
No, they did not. That's a lie.
That's what the government will tell you.
And that is a lie. And that was a governmental lie.
That we create some kind of a security program to guarantee that something like this didn't happen again.
And then it did. So Homeland Security failed.
We demanded it. See, we demanded all those guys those TSA guys in the airports. We demanded all those metal detectors at the doorways. We demanded that stuff. Going way back, even long before 9/11, long before that, with the hijackings that were going on in the late 60s. We're demanding this security.
With Hillary Clinton flying overseas and dropping money in Iran, we demanded her to fly to Iran and drop some money.
Absolutely. That's the whole concept. See, that gets them off the hook. It makes it our fault that they had to do what they wanted done. You know, it's just like manipulating a kid into eating his peas before he has his pudding. It's no different.
Okay, I got a question. D.
You won't like the answer, but go ahead.
All right, you ready? I'm going to stand to the woman because the man, long explanation. Dad, what did your mom think about the Roe versus Wade?
I haven't talked to her about it.
I know she.
I'm not going to suppose what she thinks.
Look, I bet you she has some choice words. I bet you she would have some choice words, because I know your father would have been very vocal.
A very opinionated family.
Your father would have been very vocal. Look, I'm gonna be nice and say your daddy would have been very vocal.
Oh yeah, he would have left this show. Yeah.
He would have snapped. He would have.
He would definitely have his own show. That's for sure.
Yeah. He would be. He'd be like, my son, sit down and shut the fuck up. I gotta talk. yeah, that's the way you heard that. Yeah, he would been, just sit down and shut the fuck. Yeah, I'm doing this.
Well, if it was on this network, he would have a real problem because I was under the impression that I had a show, but it isn't my show.
I'm the one that didn't want to come on and talk. I said it earlier.
It's not been my show for a long time. It's his show, and I'm just here to piss him off.
Am I? No, this has been the Cowboy Bob show.
Yeah, except it's always about Odin.
You keep pointing at me. I don't want to talk. All right,
Like
watch this.
You cannot talk, yeah.
Watch this.
At any rate, okay, my biggest point in all this is I don't understand where you can interpret that this is taking away any right. It is simply taking away a resource.
Mm-hmm.
A resource is being taken away. The federal government will no longer subsidize clinics that provide abortion services as part of the Medicare, Medicaid program.
Mm-hmm.
They just won't do it. Okay. If the state wants to fund it, if the citizens in the state want their taxes to go to that, then that's for that state to decide whether they want or not, whether they want to subsidize this activity. No place does it say that the woman doesn't have a right to have an abortion. She just has to be more selective about where she is to get one. Why should there be an abortion clinic on every corner like a McDonald's? Why is it? Are we that intent on ending this species that we need to have that many readily available abortion clinics everywhere so we can just knock them out that fast? They will be the last generation of human beings on this planet, won't they?
Hey, we gotta push out the kids, baby. We gotta push them out, yo.
And then who's gonna wipe your butt in a nursing home?
Hold on. Maybe you gotta ask the important question.
When who's gonna wipe your butt in a nursing home?
We started off with wiping butts. Now we're ending it with wiping butts.
Well,
yeah.
Well, the question you should be
I
asking.
have a way of bringing it back around. I don't know how I do that.
Dan, the question should be this. Honestly, right. It goes to the woman because you got to keep it on the woman because the woman's got a lot to say, and I know she got something to put out. So let's try this. I want to know what is your opinion of what happened Friday that morning when they said we just overturned Roe vs. Wade. Now, honestly, I heard the screams, the cries, the yells, the shouting, the fights in the street. Churches not opening up on Sunday because of what happened. The kids are running around saying, "Hold up, I can't have sex freely now." The hookers on the street. The hookers on the street are going to have to go buy the next day pill. Hold up, wait a minute. Did I just drop that in there? Yes, I did. The next day pill. You catching where I'm getting ready to go. You catching where I'm getting ready to go. I already thought I knew you were going to catch it as soon as I said that. Don't y'all figure out that this is all leading to pharmaceuticals?
Sure.
Well, it's all about money and control. Everything was always about money and control.
Well, yeah. Hang on, I'm not leaving. I'm going to turn the fan on.
Everybody's stepping away.
Hey, it's hot over here, Dan. See, we ain't like you.
I don't know.
She got bears walking through her house, okay? She got Grizzly Adams walking through her house.
We are under monsoon. It is probably about 80 degrees outside or upper 70s, and it's got to be like 90% humidity. I mean, it's like, and I've got an evap cooler. I don't have air conditioning. So the evap cooler is absolutely useless.
Basically a swamp cooler.
Humidity.
Yeah.
Basically a reverse swamp cooler. The bottom line is this. The question that you should, Bob, I'm going to sit back. I'm going to let you ask her questions about this situation because you know something? We need a woman that's going to give us a truth.
An opinion, yeah.
A truth.
Here would be my fundamental question. So as not to put you in an uncomfortable.
Go ahead and put her on the spot. You try to battle with me all the damn time.
No. I'm going to be nice. There's a way to do this without putting her on a personal spot. what you witnessed in the last 48 hours, do you believe that they were giving those people an honest perspective of what was going on, or were they simply manipulating them in order to get them to take sides?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Manipulation.
Can you elaborate?
Oh,
I mean, what did they say to you, so to speak? Okay, that you found to be manipulative rather than factual.
I was the way I heard about it, because I've been so busy working.
Maybe the best thing to ask is, what did the girls on your job say?
They felt that they had no more choices anymore, and I guess abstinence is the key. Yeah,
but I mean, do you, okay, as a young, I'm going to suggest still fertile by age woman, okay, do you feel as though your choices have been taken away from you?
Well, medically, I
mean, other than you can still go get an abortion, you just may not be able to get one down the street. Do you feel that your choices have been infringed on any more than they were yesterday or the day before?
I don't. But others feel that perception I received yesterday was that their freedom and their choice was taken from them.
Which would be ludicrous in California because it will have no effect. California will simply pass ordinances making it legal to have abortions. And continue funding the clinics, yeah.
It was more the attitude and absurdity that it was even reversed. Like they were appalled that it was even reversed. Like, why out of all things were they focusing on that and they changed it? There was like forms of confusion of why. There's so many other things going on in this world, Yeah,
it's really a terrible distraction, isn't it? When you get right down to it, it's an irrelevant extraction.
Right. What else is going on?
The next question I would ask to balance on that was, of those people that you were getting this perception from, how many of them were old enough to have been around and understood what Roe v. Wade was really all about?
Not only me.
Only
Everybody
you, right?
else was about
younger.
Yeah, like 18.
Too young to have been around to know what was even going on back then.
Exactly.
Right? Or what the arguments were or anything else, right?
Exactly.
And of course, we do know that if they're under 30,
right,
they probably have never read a book.
Right.
Okay? If they have a library card, it was because they had to actually go check out one book one time in order to graduate high school, or it was a matter
for them to have the experience, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, you had to join an extracurricular activity, at least one. Okay,
right.
You had to do one community service program, and you had to go to the library. At least you had to have a library card to prove that you knew where the library was. Then you could graduate.
You mean that building with Wi-Fi?
Well, in case if the whole system crashed, they would have to learn how to go to the library and find their information, right?
They took out the card catalog, so you don't have to worry about it. They're walking blind.
Have you ever been to Flagstaff, Arizona?
They don't even know Dewey Decimal System.
Damn.
I mean, they don't even know any of it.
Danette, have you ever been to Flagstaff, Arizona?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So right out there, right out your front door, you look up, there's this great big volcano. Okay, nowadays it's a ski resort, but it's still a great big volcano. Okay?
That can be reactivated.
And I used to muse and look at that and then go, you know how funny it would be if suddenly smoke started coming up out of the top of that mountain, and watching all these freakazoids in their $500 million homes, right, racing to get out of town as fast as they could in their Mercedes Benzes, right? Yeah, man,
the thought you should be having is, how are you going to pay for that? Those insurance companies are going to collapse. $5 million homes.
Active nature, brother. Active nature. A volcano is nature. That's an act of nature. The insurance company ain't paying off on that anymore than they pay off on flood insurance.
Oh yes, that's true. They don't.
For
They do it.
California,
They
just
do it in Louisiana
burn you
though.
out.
Yes, but it's a separate thing, Steve. There was something I caught this on news the other day. I thought it was interesting. They were talking about flood insurance in some region that was being flooded, and they said one of the problems there was that before the tropical storm was named a tropical storm, you had to have already purchased the flood insurance, the storm insurance. You couldn't wait until after it was named, go get the insurance before it hit, and then collect on the insurance. So you had to guess against the weather in order to qualify for flood insurance. And then they were saying, and then I heard another one talking on one of the, I don't know, one of the internet sites, right, weather things, and the girl was saying, and we need to start naming these tropical storms and these summer incursion storms, like these heat waves. You know, we should give them names so that we can categorize them, all so we can determine whether or not they're eligible for insurance payment. See, they don't never end the sentence. Right. They just said we need to give names to all these new storms that are rising up now because of global warming, you know, so that we can classify them for insurance claims.
Well, what about, to excuse the word, global warming, which has been proven to be a farce?
No, it's probably happening.
Well,
the farce is that man had anything to do with it.
Well, the farce that I have to mention is this, and I mentioned this while I was eating today outside. Here's a statement for you. With all the trash on the earth that's been put on the earth is basically landfills. With all the people that have died and their bodies are in caskets and all this stuff, why hasn't the earth changed or gained any roundness to it over this millennia?
Maybe it has.
It hasn't.
Maybe it has. Topographically, maybe it has. Also consider this now. All these hydroplastics are all going into these landfills. These landfills are massive, right? You could build 500-600 homes and a school and parks where they built, where they put in a landfill. Now, let's just for the sake of argument talk about the fact that the earth absorbs the radiation from the sun. But a plastic bottle won't. It works like an insulator. So now the sun is coming down, it's hitting all these landfills all over the world. Okay, all those automobiles, all those cemeteries, all those places that are stopping the earth from breathing. It's kind of like putting paint on your body, and you paint your entire body up, and you'll die. You'll die of toxin because your body can't breathe. Your skin needs to be able to breathe. It takes in air. It takes in sunlight. So if you put these artificial insulators in there, then you may be, in a sense, creating that aspect of global warming because you're making the surface hotter because it can't be absorbed through that artificial materials, right? You put an insulator sheet down there. But on another argument along that same line was all the earthquakes and such activities. And one man speculated that, well, if you took all of the oil out from underground, that oil was the lubricant that the shelves were resting on. So you sucked them dry, you dropped a dry socket. Now you wonder why you're having normal movement is suddenly traumatic on the surface. It wouldn't have been traumatic if we'd left the oil down there because that was lubricant it rolled on. Right. So I give you the ball bearing. Okay, just the physical idea of the ball bearing.
Right.
Okay, so it's that grease in the middle that keeps everything moving. Dry that up and it freezes and starts burning. Right. Okay, so maybe. In a way, it isn't that we burned the fossil fuel, it's that we extracted it in the first place. It isn't that we made so much garbage, it's the way that we have managed that garbage.
Correct.
Right? By creating landfills, we almost predictively drove ourselves into the Earth's surface becoming hotter because it can no longer absorb the heat and dispense it down. It just stays right there. so it's hotter. They
All
said,
right,
now
and
when
then
I grew up in Scottsdale in the late 50s, 60s, okay, a really, really, really hot summer would have been 101, 102.
Correct.
By the time I got home from the service in 1975, okay, the population of Phoenix had gone into the millions, all right, and there was asphalt and swimming pools and rooftops everywhere, and now the average summer temperature in July, August was now bouncing at 110.
110 to 120. Actually,
Yeah,
I've seen
and that's all
122.
because the desert could no longer absorb the sun's radiation. It reflected off all the asphalt and all the roofs and all the swimming pools, and so that created a hotter element. Okay, so 80 feet above the ground,
And don't
the
forget
temperature
all the
there
radiation.
gets hotter.
Don't forget all the radiation from the nuclear blast they did in the desert in White Sands.
And, well, there's that too. You know, but that gets into another.
That gets
But we're
into
just
a deeper
talking
area.
about the things you can see with your own two eyes, the things you can witness and understand in your own. It doesn't matter if you've got, a great big college degree. You know, the average fifth grader can see it and understand it. Okay, because they can witness it in their own timeline, right? Yeah.
Well, to that, here they are raising the gas prices to make it so expensive for no one.
If you won't travel, you'll stay in your district. You will stay in your district.
Yeah, okay, right. But then they're pushing all these electric vehicles now.
Oh, yeah.
But you can't afford them, can you?
Gas to get you to electric. Okay.
Can you afford an electric vehicle?
Wait, I live in California. They shut off our power.
Rotating.
And
Yeah.
okay, support it to begin with, but yet they're pushing all of these electric cars. And I even live up in a rural area to where even if I had an electric car, I couldn't charge it up, even if I wanted to.
Right.
It's just, and there's no station that supports any electric vehicles where I live.
See, there's a bumfuck Egypt.
See, they pulled this in Arizona. They pulled this in Arizona like 25 years ago. My wife was a victim. My wife worked for the Board of Regents for the state of Arizona. Her retirement was through the state employees retirement package. Governor Hall, I believe, was the name at the time. One of those. Napolitano was in that circle too.
Yeah.
But they decided, and this is really slick. They decided that they were going to take the retirement fund money that was in the bank, so to speak, and they were going to turn that over and use that to finance the alternative fuel concession. So what they were going to do was the state bought a whole fleet of vehicles that were both gasoline and electric. And they were going to get all the gas stations all over the state to put in the gas charging cells. Two things became a problem. One, they couldn't come up with a fast enough charging system, which meant going to the gas station meant parking your car and sitting there for 3 hours. Right? So that wasn't a good function. And then the gas stations weren't about to invest in putting in this electrical system, okay, at their expense, okay, if the state wanted to let state pay for it. Now, here's what they did. So they went to Smith Barney or whoever it was that was currently managing the Arizona State Employees Retirement Fund, and they said, this is what we want to do. And the people said, no, you can't do that. It's against the law. It's against federal law, and it's against your own state charters. You can't do that. You cannot take all of it and invest it in one direction. You must diversify in order to protect the future of the account. And they said, okay, you're fired. And they hired another company, and they put that company in charge. And that company said, sure, we'll do it for 20% off top. Shit, yeah, we'll do it. Okay. Well, the whole thing blew up in the governor's face, and it all went broke. And the state turned around and said, sorry, you lost your entire 401k, And now you're going to have to do double payments for the next 10 years in order to get back up so that you can still have that $280,000 retirement package. Otherwise, you won't be eligible for the state's matching funds. And so they started taking double out of my wife's paycheck every 2 weeks for her deposit. So where she was putting like 6% or whatever it was into her 401k, they doubled it. Now, we were fortunate enough that it didn't really hurt us directly, but it kind of really pissed Tracy off, and it didn't make me happy either. But there was literally nothing you could do about it, because the question comes back, and here's the question now. If you think that what they did in Washington in the last 48 hours was a terrible, underhanded, mean, and nasty thing to do, I ask you, who's going to hold them accountable?
Nobody.
Are they going to prosecute themselves? Right? They won't prosecute Hillary. And any sixth grader, middle school, you lay the evidence out in front of that kid, the kid would say, yeah, she should get detention. She broke the rules. Is anybody prosecuting Hillary Clinton?
Is anybody being prosecuted? Maybe that's the question.
Donald Trump, but when it comes right down to it, they still haven't done a thing to Donald Trump. No matter all the things they accuse him of doing, whether he did them or not isn't relevant, okay? All the things they accuse him of doing, but nobody would ever hold him accountable factually for any of that. Because power is not going to punish power for being powerful. So all of your rights that you think you have or you think you just lost, they were a delusion in the first place. Who is going to back you up? If a pack of those immigrants coming across the southern border suddenly show up on my property and tell me that they're going to take all my food, they're going to take my money, they're going to take any art or anything that they like, right? Maybe beat me, leave me for dead, okay? Who's backing me up?
I wouldn't.
Nobody's backing me up. Nobody's there. Nobody's going to come running to my rescue.
I'll come running. I gotta get my camera.
They'll be here in 40 or 45 minutes. As soon as they can get an officer loose, they'll be over. Because they're all at Winchell's Donuts right now having coffee and donuts, and they couldn't possibly be broke because they're part of a union, and the union says they have to have this break time.
Well,
so
no,
sorry,
they came to my house and they were grilling.
Murdered. Oh well, we'll come later, but we can't come right now.
Hold on, they were already at home, and they were grilling.
The only rights you have are the ones you uphold yourself. My right to be me. Question is, are you willing to die for what you believe in? Because if push comes to shove, will you stand there and say, no, my rights, I'm not going to do that regardless of what you do to me? Or are you going to capitulate and go, well, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me. I'd rather die. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. I'm one of those guys that would have stayed at the Alamo. For no good reason, but I would have stayed. And the wonderful thing is, my wife of 42 years would have understood it. And she would have said, well, go ahead, dear. We had great days together. Love you, miss you, hope you make it home. Understand why you have to do this. Go do it. There aren't many of them around, but she was one of them. But that's what it comes down to for all of it. See, you can whine about, that's what I said, do you think that the people, NBC, Newsmax, doesn't matter which side, right or left, do you think that any of them are perpetuating an idealism right now that is based on what really happened, legally transpired, and what they want you to think, how they want you to feel like you're being abused?
Right.
What I don't understand is all these people on the right that are all running around going, God finally gave us no more abortions. No, he didn't. That's not what it said. It didn't say that it was illegal to have an abortion. As a matter of fact, it went so far as to say you can't hold a woman responsible legally if she has an abortion. You can only choose if you're going to pay for it in your county. If you don't want to pay for it in your county, you have a right to say, no, we're not going to pay for it. The federal government will not tell you you have to pay for it. That's what Roe versus Wade did. It made it mandatory for the state to accept something, whether they were morally opposed to it or not. All it's saying is the federal government does not have that right, and the federal government does not have that right. They do not possess that right. So consequently, we're arguing now over this whole abortion thing, and I find it ironic that it's the same argument we should have been having 18 months ago, and we couldn't have it because you weren't even allowed to say the word out loud.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But it's still the same argument, isn't it?
Hold on.
My body, my choice.
Why can't we say a word about it? I mean, the only word that I learned that we could not say was COVID-19. Oh shit!
Vaccinated. You couldn't use the word vaccinated.
Insurgent. Insurgent.
Vaccinations are good for you. The FDA has said. Yeah, the FDA told me that DDT was okay for me too.
Yeah.
The FDA said it was okay for them to put what's that insulation that causes mesothelioma? The fireproof junk.
The asbestos?
Asbestos,
right? Yeah, the FDA said asbestos was the most wonderful thing in modern science.
Yeah.
Okay,
well,
I can
look
show
at in
you
Vietnam
old
with Agent
textbooks
Orange.
and tell you all about asbestos and how wonderful it is for humanity.
what are you eating?
Whatever she wants, because she
I'm
can't.
trying.
What are you eating?
I'm eating a chip right now.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Okay.
I'm just
not
curious.
a vegan
I'm
or
just
anything.
curious.
Jesus, even I don't eat potato chips anymore.
No, it's a tortilla chip.
Oh.
They're no better. Deep
A
fried.
white-
They're still
white
socking
tortilla?
the piece.
A white tortilla chip.
You got any salsa?
I do, but
You got
it's
chili?
not
You got
with
some
me
chili?
at the moment.
I had a chimichanga for dinner last night.
And what was he doing?
He fried his brains out.
I bet he did.
He was just a burrito, but then we fried his brains out, so he became a chimichanga. He spent too much time in the afternoon sun, became a chimichanga.
Okay, so how about this? What's on your mind, Daniette?
That my alarm keeps going off and I want to eat my dinner.
Your alarm keeps going off?
I don't know. This whole, there's so much going on in the world right now, and it's more of a slow boil for people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all, I mean, everything has always been pre-orchestrated. Even, I mean, they have contingencies upon contingencies before they even lay anything out.
We are NASA.
People. And I'm just,
You're just waiting on the next big spill off, huh?
man, I'm just,
They're going to do what they're going to do, and all we can do is recognize that, maybe get some inclination of what it might be that they're planning to do.
Right.
And then wait for it and plan to survive. What are you going to do if a tidal wave comes crashing in 30 miles in from the coast, right? What are you going to do if there's a San Francisco earthquake? What are you going to do if right? When it happens, you either be a victim without option, or you'll be faced with options to try to survive, and you will. Doesn't matter what happens.
Okay, so one of the things that are going on with these gas prices, and they're trying to push electric vehicles, they're also telling us that we cannot have gas mowers, we can't have gas generators, we can't have anything that requires gas. Well, I live in a place where they shut the power off for long extended periods of time.
Correct.
For
So
no apparent reason.
Power your lawnmower, yeah.
And you're either having propane or a gas generator.
Yeah.
And
how much more is natural gas from propane? Okay, so what you pay to have natural gas versus what you pay to buy propane in a tank. So you pay 30 or 40% more for the propane.
Well, I have a $400 propane bill that I need to pay because, it got a little low.
Yeah. But see, if you were running natural gas, that would run you, what, maybe, between $80 and $120 a month, depending on how much you use it.
Yeah, it depends. Yeah.
Mostly hot water.
Mhm.
That's electrically, that's one of the biggest expenses I have is hot water.
Yeah.
If I take
I
a
like
lot of
my-
showers, do a lot
I
of
like
laundry,
hot
the
showers,
electric bill goes.
so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's a shower bug. Okay,
Yeah,
she's a fish
I mean-
in the shower, but when you
My,
take her
my
to
water
the ocean,
heater, that thermostat is all the way on boiling hot. So. Yeah.
the idea is this: that the world that we're living in is changing on us, and we have really no recourse around it. And the funny and most outrageous thoughts that we can have about surviving an issue or incident that's possibly to come and happen is all part of an illusionary dream that we're stuck in, because honestly, our world ain't prepared for nothing.
No.
Our country is
Daryl.
not prepared for the end.
Sun Tzu's Art of War. Okay, you with me here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sun Tzu's Art of War. If you are faced by an overwhelming frontal offense by the enemy, what is your best defensive tactic?
To not be there.
Run straight at the son of a bitch.
No. My statement, not be there.
Come right into the dude, man. Don't stay where you are. Don't hide behind a tree. Run at him, screaming at the top of your lungs with every weapon you have at your disposal. And 9 out of 10 times, you'll run right through him and out the other side, because he's so freaked out that you're attacking instead of running away that he freaks out.
Yeah, true. Very true. But the problem that we have still is that we're not prepared for nothing in this country. Our
No.
infrastructure is down when it was going to be rebuilt. I mean, even Michael Jordan, who was a staunch Democrat, he tore up his Democratic card.
Yeah.
Because of what's happening in this country.
Well, because we've been programmed for so long.
Senator Kennedy, whose middle name happens to be my last name. Thank you very much.
Teddy Kennedy?
Senator Kennedy said, with the gas prices that's going on today, it's cheaper to go buy cocaine and start running. It's a shame before the American public to think.
Cheaper to go buy cocaine and just stay home.
Well, yeah, that works too, but I mean, what you gonna do? I mean,
Just go home and get so stoned you don't care.
Yeah.
And you know what? You're not burning fossil fuels. You're not polluting the environment. You're not contributing to the whatever it is, the oxygen thing,
Yeah.
right? You're not contributing to that. Okay, the carbon dioxide, and you're not consuming food. So you're not consuming resources.
well,
either, right?
that's a
'Cause
big
you're
issue in
losing it.
California too.
So you're sitting around eating corn chips all day, but see, they got corn chips forever.
But see, that's
All
a big
corn chips
issue as
are
well.
Broken up tortillas, right?
That's a big issue, bro. I mean, the big issue in California is they told the farmers not to farm.
Yep. Oh yeah. Well,
California
enjoy your
used to supply the
food,
country.
because you're going to go to the grocery store. You're going to walk in. You're going to go to the shelf, and it's going to be empty. And they're going to tell you there are
they
no
are.
more corn chips.
They already are
They've
empty.
decided that they're not healthy, so you're not going to be able to buy them anymore.
Yeah,
And
things are
now we
already
also-
empty.
And
And then
Black
look,
market cookies,
Oh,
black market Oreos.
Which-
Start buying Oreos now, man. Oh, there's a future in Oreos on the black market
oh
down the road.
yeah. And don't forget to get your vape juice.
Somebody's
Get your
throwing
vape
Oreos out
juice.
the back door, yeah.
Don't forget to get your vape juice in the
have
vape machine
plenty
too.
of Water. Okay, listen. We have plenty of water, right? And then all of a sudden, they open up all the floodgates and they emptied out all of our lakes here.
Reservoirs. Yeah.
Everything.
Because it's
It's
radiated.
empty. And then, okay, on the freeway, big frickin' sign says severe drought, conserve water.
But
Yeah.
What the fuck? Seriously, they take away our water and then they're like, oh God, we have severe drought going on.
Well, yeah, see,
And
they're
then-
slowly
you have these
carefully getting us so
insane
weak
fanatics
like
starting
that.
frickin' fires again.
Right. The intent is
Welcome to
to
California.
break us down so we can't fight back.
I don't think we're gonna be living there.
right? See, starve the enemy. Okay, just sit out here and starve the enemy, and when the enemy is too weak to stand up, then we can just walk in and take the mountain.
See,
right?
people don't understand. We are already at war, but we are conditioned to view war in a different way. We are already in it. So people need to wake up and watch and observe what is going around them right now and take action. Man,
well, they want us to, I believe they want a civil war. I believe they want a civil war, and I believe that they want a civil war because they need to, and they've been saying this now, they need to reset.
Yeah, they do.
See, they can't keep sustaining this system this way. They need a reset. And they don't want to admit that they screwed up and that this is all bad, you know, that the 2020 vision was a bad idea, and now they're stuck and they need a reset. And so to cover their own ass, they want us at each other's throats to the point where we start tearing it down, burning it down, and killing each other in the streets. And then they'll come back and say, oh, brothers and sisters, hands across the ocean, let's love one another again, and we'll rebuild for a better future.
We are the world. We are
and by the way, the guys that used to be in charge.
We are the ones to make a brighter day, so let's start building. Sorry.
I don't know if even if you replace them, are they even going to be any better?
Nope.
Well, they never are.
I mean,
so the two evil villains are fighting each other. It doesn't matter which one wins. We're screwed either way, right?
Are we getting just a better villain? You know?
Or maybe the ideology should be this. Instead of calling everything evil, which is an indicative way of looking at things, because we have no other way, because something is against the way we feel, we build, and we want, we call it evil. Maybe the agenda of what we call evil could be good for the people.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this, okay? You're enough of a history buff, D. Compare 2020 and the 20s, this decade, as it's unfolding. Compare that with 1920.
Big difference. Number one.
Oh, no. There's not a big difference.
No.
There are different actors, but they're playing
different actors playing the same thing. But there's the biggest difference is we're in a technological world, and we're indoctrinated to be within the technological world.
That's being used against you.
That's right.
It's more of a weapon.
It's a bigger weapon, a bigger minister sitting at the pulpit.
The airplane was a brand new thing. The jet hadn't even been conceived of yet. You're talking about that, you know, we just came out of the great big expo from the turn of the 20th century.
Chicago Expo.
You know, the end of the Victorian era. We just walked, you know, there and look at automobiles and telephones and electric lights and all these things. They were in a technological boom too in their day.
Yeah,
it was a different level of technology, but it was still as impactful to them as ours is to us today.
Nowhere near it.
Bootlegging again. It's just like we're going into prohibition again.
Yep.
It's just like we're going into the gangsters are starting to shoot each other up in the streets.
Look what's happening now.
Gangsters try to take control. Look it up. What was the date? The great massacre in Chicago. 100 cops were dead.
Yes.
Not Valentine's Day, the other one. The one where they, you know, Al Capone and his gang rose up, man.
And they got pissed.
To over City Hall and everything, yeah.
They got pissed.
Fight, I think it was 24.
And that was because actuality, it was not over liquor, drugs, or nothing of that nature. It was over the murder of a cousin of Al Capone. So people need to clear their history up.
Regardless of the catalyst, you see. Look at the comparison of what's going on today and what was going on then and how that unfolded. What came after that? Remember, we had the collapse of Wall Street. What's happening on Wall Street right now? It has dropped like 4,000 points.
It's dropped more than the Great Depression.
So here we go. We're getting ready to see Wall Street collapse. Okay, and then we're going to go right into another Great Depression era, which will be the late 20s to the 30s. Okay, it's like they're playing the same playbook all over again.
That's why we do need a reset.
To characters. It's no longer a Shakespearean play. Now it's an Edgar Rice Burroughs play.
And we
Okay?
need a
But they're
reset.
still using the same plot.
I'm agreeing. We need a reset. You know what we need to reset? Everything. Give us our
How
freedom
do you do
back.
that without pain and suffering?
Give us. Hey, guess what? When it comes to war, what do you have to do? Somebody's
What are you
got to
willing
die.
to give
Somebody
up?
got to die.
Are you going to give up your cell phone?
I already.
We're
Are
already.
you going to give up your cell phone?
Well, if
Are
the
you gonna give up
resets
your
needed, yes,
computer?
I will. Cause I'll
Are you
be
gonna
where.
give
Look,
up this
I'll
new
fly to where
stuff?
I need to be, won't I?
If we're going to do the reset, then see, these things aren't going to be there, right? Because logically they don't make sense. See, that was the lesson that was tied up in the movie Terminator.
Yeah.
The real lesson in all of that was we made a computer so smart that in its full analytical capability, it determined
That
the thing that was least necessary on this planet was man.
Well, man, isn't
So it went about eradicating man.
Well-
Because it was getting rid of a virus on the planet. It's, look, man, this is a cancer. It's bad for the planet. We need to get rid of it.
Well,
It
man
doesn't
is a
make
virus.
sense.
Man is a bug. Man is a
Well,
scorch.
yes, he is.
And we're going to try to save ourselves like ants would try to save ourselves.
So in the fact that we are nothing but a slimy disease walking around on two legs, we walk around going, I'm Odin, a god.
Yes.
And yet, you're the god of a bunch of bugs.
Hey, guess what?
Insignificant and unrecognized in the greater picture of
Well,
the universe.
if you actually look at the Earth, you'll see that the insignificant, small, quote unquote, minority, quote, the pest of the planet, the humans are the biggest pest.
Yeah. Well, so the Anunnaki came here and dropped an infection.
A turd?
And infected this planet and then left and let the infection just grow. Okay? It just grew and it grew and it grew and it grew like a virus, like a fungus, like a bacteria. It just grew.
Called selective breeding.
And look at us now. We're all over the planet. There's virtually no place that man hasn't gone and contaminated.
There's some places.
Yes, but very small by comparison. If you take in the whole land mass of this planet, and hell, you don't even have to stop the land mass. Look what they've done to the oceans.
Ah.
There's not a coastal region on this planet that isn't polluted.
Well, that's
Yeah, the
because of Fukushima. People still
We need
don't
the coral
believe.
reefs
Polluted in
and
a
maybe-
different way.
Now, hold on. You're right about that. That leak could have been for a reason. Well, we also know that Israel wanted the was supposed to be a part of the program to relieve the Fukushima plant of its uranium ore, but they said no, so it had to be released. Now, it didn't go into a total meltdown, kind of interesting, but it did go into the ocean, kind of interesting.
Right.
California water got infected, kind of interesting. You got Godzilla, Megatron, and King Kong being formed off the coast
Now
of
you
Japan.
Now you're bringing cartoons.
And we got
Now,
Bambi with two
I was
heads.
there till you got to the cartoon characters, okay?
Okay.
You know, we're not creating Hollywood theories.
Yes, we are
Out of
creating
the
it.
water.
We
Not
have
horizon,
created it.
Okay, animated cartoons.
We have
All right?
created it.
But
That's
we
the
are,
problem.
We are in a way killing ourselves.
No, we
are.
literally are creating Hollywood in reality. We got two-headed
Right.
deer. We got two-headed tortoises. We have creatures that have never been seen.
Daryl, if I can't prove that I'm better than God, what's the next level?
To be God.
I'll prove I'm as good as Hollywood.
No,
all
to
close to
be
God.
God. I am
They're all close
Hollywood.
to God, right?
Hollywood.
So I'm almost
Stop
to God
looking.
if I'm as
I
good as
saw you.
Hollywood. See, if I can make, what was the hell is the name? I had that a minute ago. The sheep.
Oh, Dolly.
Okay, see, I can prove that I'm as good as God. I can create life from scratch.
Right.
So
God
blessed
created life
be.
from scratch. That makes God all wonderful, so I'm all wonderful.
So do I have to wear my robe and my cloak and put it over my head, look like one of those monks walking through the alley
Right, so
with a
you
big
can
old
demonstrate
medallion on my chest?
so that you can demonstrate that you're an absolute pussy victim of your own ego.
Yes, I must do that
Because
and
they
walk
call it
through. And I got to do my hands like this.
I went to school
Oh,
for 20 damn years to get these PhDs. Look at me. I am so superior to you.
Yeah, but I just joined the troops when I said I just wear my cloak and put my big ass medallion on the front, and I can't even wear Danetta's hat. Cause she ain't gonna let her hair out.
I got my hair out.
Counterboard.
What's that? I was
See,
just
I mean,
thinking,
see, we are driven at this level as a species, it appears, to prove that we are better than anybody else. Not
We are
necessarily
proving
everybody
it.
else.
We're
but
proving we're
anybody
worse.
else.
We're proving we're worse.
Right? Because if I can't be as good as you at something, then the only way I can substantiate myself is to be better than you at something else. Otherwise, I'm lesser than you, and that's not acceptable
So
to
if
my
I
ego.
can't be a creator, I have to be a destroyer?
Huh?
If I can't be a creator, I have to be the destroyer.
Well, there it is. But that puts me on equal footing. My ego can live with that.
Okay. Feels good?
Yeah.
All right, good. Now
It's almost as good as masturbation.
twice a week,
My
only
ego
on
loves
Thursday.
it.
Listen,
My
twice a
ego's
week,
going, oh, yeah,
Tuesdays
it's
and
all about me,
Thursdays.
man.
Fridays
It's all
you
about
must
my
drink.
happiness. It's all about me.
Yeah, it's all about me.
That's the problem with, what do you call this generation now, under 30?
The
What do they call
millennium,
it
the
now?
me generation, the
They're not
millennium.
millennials. They're something else. What are they?
Oh, under 30. What are they called? Let me check this out.
The millennials, or anybody that's like 30 up, is a millennial. Right? If you were born in 1995 or later, you're a millennial. If you were born in 2010 or later, then you're something else.
Gen X, isn't it? Or something like
Gen
that?
X?
No, Generation X, 1970, baby. D-Generation X! Yeah, baby.
You were yuppies. You were yuppie puppies.
We were Generation X.
That's how we refer to you. There were the hippies. Then there were the yippies. The yippies were the Fortune 500 hippies.
Okay.
They looked like hippies. They talked like hippies. They partied like hippies. But they lived like Rockefeller. Okay? Now, they were yippies. Then there was another bunch that came along, which would have been our little
Generation
brothers.
Z.
Okay, they grew up and they became the yuppies. Then they had babies, that being your generation. They were the yuppie puppies.
No.
Babies of the yuppies, yuppie puppies.
No, we Generation X, baby.
Then we hit millennials. Then we came into the millennial surge.
I'm going to go call X-Pac and Triple H and the rest of the guys.
You were an
That's
MTV
it. You're going to go on the
MTV
ring,
baby.
and you can even manage with Dusty
You
Rhodes'
did.
son.
Actually,
I
you
don't
know
know.
what?
I had a lot
You were
of
a
freedom.
Dean Martin Tonight's baby.
Yeah. Yeah, we
Yeah.
had great
Or a
comedy.
Tonight Show baby.
We had
You know?
real shows then that gave us real information and made us
Mommy and
think.
Daddy were laying there watching the Tonight Show, and Daddy got frisky, and Mommy let him, and here you are.
Oh, damn.
Lucky us.
More like Daddy came in with some oranges and Mommy said, so sweet.
Yeah, right. You make it out any way you want to, but it was the backseat of a Dodge. Either way you go.
All right, so the generation you're talking about is Generation Z.
Z.
Right.
Yeah, I knew it was something.
Yeah, what was Generation Y?
We haven't had one of those yet. Generation
They
Y
skipped
would
it.
be the ones who go, why?
Okay. Millennials, also known as Generation Y or Gen Y, are demographic across the globe, young people having postponed marriage. Millennials are born at a time, 1981 to 1996.
Well, that seems like a long stretch.
Right.
Now,
But
Generation Z is
they tried to
next.
say that baby boomers.
Oh, now
they
we
tried
got
to say that
the
baby
Alpha
boomers were all the way to
generation.
60. anymore, and that ain't true either.
We got the alpha generation. And hold on, there's even the
These
lost.
are the ones with no gender, right? They're neuters.
Yeah. Then we got the lost generation, and that is what year is the lost generation? Damn.
Well, they started when the Deadheads died,
1883 to 1900.
and then it became the Lost Generation because without Jerry Garcia and the Grateful Dead, they were lost.
They were lost. They
were
couldn't
lost.
find Ernest Hemingway anymore either.
And you know what the worst of it was? So, the 16-year-old or 17-year-old goes off with his friends to a Grateful Dead concert back in the 70s. Okay, does a bunch of psychedelic mushrooms, has a real freaking party, blah 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 blah. They go home. They're telling their 5-year-old brother or sister about it. 10 years later, the 5-year-old brother, 20 years later, the 5-year-old brother and sister
You know it's 5.
now
man.
can't wait to go to a Grateful Dead concert so they can eat a bunch of mushrooms and find out what their older siblings experienced.
Hey, yo, don't be talking about the
Nothing
dead
to do
shows,
with
man.
band
I've been
and
to
the
dead
music.
shows.
It has to do with the experience.
That's
If
right.
my older cousin went, then man, that sounded like it was so cool. I can't wait till I'm old enough.
And you'll remember that for the rest of your life.
Yep,
Uh,
absolutely.
I used to go to dead shows, the Rocky Horror Picture shows. I've done shit. I used to go to Bethesda Cinema and Draft House, go watch a movie and drink beer at the same time. They didn't card you when I was in high school. So I mean, yeah, man, that was some shit. Generation X, we partied hard, baby.
Yeah. So in your
Just
generation,
suck it.
what didn't happen? See, my generation said, okay, we took a lot of mescaline, we ate, we snorted a lot of coke, we did a lot of LSD, that kind of thing.
Y'all got lost.
And then we got to an age and we went, oh man, I wish I hadn't done all that shit. Jesus Christ. So your generation, in witness of this, instead of going, the best route is to just go this way.
And
Okay,
just
they
say
went,
no, Bob.
You
Just
know
say
what?
no.
We'll come up with ecstasy. And we'll come up with there was before ecstasy. Big deal. Early 80s. Club drug. It was real. It was killing kids all over the country. Hell, all over the world.
What was it?
But it was pre-ecstasy.
Pre-ecstasy. I know. Water. What was that thing? That juice
I
shit.
can't remember what it was called. But then they came up with ecstasy. I remember going into clubs where
parties were
the
big.
ecstasy craze was going on. And I'd have the band, and we'd have these tower speakers, right? Huge tower speakers.
Oh yeah, they
Pump
boom,
out,
boom, boom,
out
boom,
like
boom,
500,000
boom.
watts of sound, right? So you can amp these things up till they'll crack the bricks on the other end of the building. And these little girls are crawling inside the cabinet, inside the horn, right? Sitting in there curled up in a ball, man, listening to the band play. That's what ecstasy did to them.
Molly.
Of course, 5 years
that's
later, they
before
were
that.
getting hearing aids put in because they could no longer hear. Right? But that's what ecstasy did, man. Ecstasy said, I want to feel that pulse like, man, I want to feel it on my skin. And they literally would crawl into the guy,
Acid.
Did we get sued for that?
Tabs.
If she gets hurt, can get her out of that speaker. Get those kids off this stage.
It was acid tabs. Before.
No. Acid was gone by 76.
No, not when I was in Cali.
Oh,
There was
acid was gone. Trust me. The people that were making it, the people that
They
were
all were in
peddling it,
prison.
the world at large got rid of it. They stopped doing it. My generation quit doing it. It was still there, but it was pharmaceutical, and you had to be in the psychotherapy thing
to get it right. I mean, they had an MDMA. They had.
Yeah, that was one of them. I recognize that was one. Yeah.
Then they
there
had
was
the Molly.
Others in there too.
Yeah. Then they had Molly. Then before that, they had Coke.
Oh, we got crack.
No,
Crack
they had
was
Coke.
in too.
Coke. It was just
Well,
Coke.
no, Coke was there. It became crack.
Crack.
See, your communities up there, right? New York and Washington and Baltimore and
Man, don't forget Compton.
Came out of the hoods, yeah.
Came out
Came out,
Compton.
they figured out they could mix these.
Gold chains.
Made something that would
Looking
really
like
kick
LL
your
Cool
ass.
J, hard as hell.
Yeah. See, we were smoking hash. Your generation was smoking crack. Except the problem is it had the addictive qualities of Coke. And that was the problem. You had to keep going back and getting more. And of course, there were guys on the street corner making a fortune off of your addictions.
That was losing their money going to the States.
But see, we would rather pursue that than face reality. And those people in power would rather that we pursue that than pay attention to reality. See, because if we're not paying attention, then they can do whatever they want.
Yep.
And when you finally come up out of your haze and go, oh man, what day is it? They'll go, never mind, snort some more of this, you know. And then pretty soon it'll be, well, if you're over this age, we don't need you anymore. So, you know, it's Logan's runtime.
Oh, hold up. I know what came before that. Meth.
Well, meth was kind of around too.
Hey, that was biker dope back in the day of the 60s, okay?
Yeah, see, you know, crystal meth. That came in the mid 70s. Crystal meth. Prior to that, we were still selling what I used to have this product we call Black Angel. Okay, and Black Angels was a large horse-style capsule.
Right.
That was basically full of crystal meth. Right, you just didn't shoot it up. You popped the pills, right, and you got real wired from it.
Oh, you did? You did,
we
Bob?
had whites, and you could buy a rack of whites. That
Okay.
Those were methamphetamine, and they would
tell us about it, Bob. Tell us, Bob. How was it, Bob? Come on, Danny, ask him questions. Come on, you're a host.
Sometimes it was good, and sometimes it was unproductive.
Now, did you have one with a tab?
Which one, huh?
Did you have one with an acid tab? Did you clean the whole house and wash the windows?
Never on acid. Acid to get out of washing the windows.
You were trying to find your way out the door. Oh my God! I remember.
I got this yesterday at work from one of the guys. Man, we don't have to do spring cleaning this weekend. Let's take this.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
I remember being at Sequoia National Park, and I swear the trees were chasing us.
Well, given that you were there, I don't doubt that at all.
Man, there's a bunch of military boys having a blast.
Get out of my neighborhood.
We didn't know, yo. Oh, shut up, Bob. You know how it goes, Bob. You didn't know what it was. Homeboy said, put this under your tongue.
Oh yeah, we do. It's in the book.
I know.
So my first introduction was I knew what it was. I had tried it at Phoenix in Cano Park. I'd been turned on.
Oh, Cano Park is crud now.
And in that day, they were little paper. We called them microdots.
Microdots.
So it was a little piece of paper that was smaller than a postage stamp, and it had a little colored dot in the middle of it.
Right.
Clear colored dot. And you would put that in, and you let it melt in your mouth, and then in about 20 minutes, you'd get freaked. And then that progressed, and there were other forms, and then there were tabs. Which were when you were a little kid. Remember how you could at the grocery at like Circle K or 7-Eleven, that kind of place, you go into these little convenience stores and you could get these little candies that were stuck on paper. And you could get the whole roll of paper and pop off the little pieces of candy. And that's what they were, but they were treated with LSD. So basically it was the same little sugar tab, but it now had a drop of LSD in it. Okay, enough to get you real freaking high. And then that, by the time I got to San Francisco, the people I was living with at San Francisco, there was a mad lab in a basement where they were making what was called Orange Sunshine, which was one of the most popular choices on the market of the day. And Orange Sunshine was a little bit bigger than a Tic Tac, and it looked like a little orange candy ball. Okay, and those suckers sold in the early days, they sold for 50 cents to $1. By 70 or that era, they were moving at $4 and $5 piece. And then they came up with what they called, what was it? Liquid something.
Not the liquid
Had a
sunshine.
name like liquid or translucent or something like that. Clear light. So they came up with clear light, and that again was still a little tab, but it looked like a piece of Scotch tape. And the whole thing was you put it in your mouth and it dissolved. And later they would come out with a breath mint that did the same thing, right? It came in a little box and you'd pull one out, put it in your mouth, and it dissolved and you have fresh breath. Well, they were doing that with acid long before they had the breath thing. And then around that time,
the plastic sheet.
Mescaline got real popular around the time that Billy Jack came out.
Oh man, I used to be crazy about Billy Jack, man.
Yeah. So the psychedelic crowd started looking into the ancient American Indian traditions, of which peyote is a big one. Right? So mescaline is just a pharmaceutical version of peyote. So it's processed, dried, turned into a powder, and if you ever had it or tasted it outside of the capsule, okay, you'd put it on your mouth and it was like dried cocoa. So that was kind of the sensation of it, right? It was real sticky and you know, just like you took a tablespoon of dried chocolate out of a can, right? Chocolate, powdered chocolate, and put it in your mouth and went, oh yeah, that's you know, that was mescaline. And then of course, you know, I was in a circle of people in the Rockies at that time in history where, you know, I got to do peyote straight up a number of times. Very enlightening experience, but it's not one you do lightly. It's something that you have 4 or 5 days, and you have watchers. So there are people there that are dedicated to not be getting high, while the people who are there are getting high, right? To keep you from walking off a cliff or something, right? You know, that kind of thing. Because you did peyote ceremonially, right? You went out into the desert, or you went up into the mountains. You went away into nature.
Might have been there for 2 or 3 days.
You meditated with nature under the influence of this drug, man, and it was like, you know, and you know that's where the idea of Vision Quest came from. So the mostly the Plains Indians and the southwestern tribal people all had a practice where they had a ceremony where you took psychohallucinogenic drugs and you did it, you know, they took you out at a certain age and they sat you out in nature and they gave you this stuff, and then after you came down from being high, then you had to get home. And you know, with the Sioux, the Oglala, the routine I went through was I had a 6-foot leather cord. I had a 4-inch belt knife with a bone handle. We had moccasins on and we were wearing breech claws.
Oh.
And it was a 2-day trip back to the village. So I just, you know, so you not only got your mind blown out, but then afterwards you had to get up. And now the thing was, you know, at the time that I did this, I was a guest, but I was the same age as the grandson who was going through it. But there were actually like 7 of us or 8 of us that went up on that hill with that medicine man and took that dope. And then when we woke up, he was gone. So as a group, we found our way back, right? You know, we're playing around with showing off, trapping rabbits. You know, we're doing all kinds of crazy stuff. I think it took us like 4 days to get back to the village. And it was only like 6 miles. You know, it wasn't like it was, you know, but we were out there being survivalists, you know, young Indian braves out in the, you know. You know, but it was a very enlightening experience, you know, definitely changed my perspective on everything. And at the time I was, you know, I don't know, I was 12 years old.
Okay, I have a question, Bob. What are those rabbits that stand up on 2 legs and run?
They don't stand up on 2, they do stand up on 2 legs. They don't run often on 2 legs. It just looks like they do. They're called jackrabbits.
They're tall.
And they have really, really long ears.
Yeah, and they're really tall.
Big feet.
And big feet.
Right.
Big feet. Mm-hmm.
I saw one and I was like, first time I ever been to Arizona, and I'm like, alien encounter. And then somebody says,
Yeah.
somebody told me
Well, I always liked it, and we used to
it was
play
like
with
4
tourists
feet,
because
almost
we
5
had
feet
the
tall.
jackalopes,
They're big.
right? The idea that there
Jackrabbit.
was a jackrabbit out there that actually had horns on it, like
Right.
an antelope. And they called them jackalopes. And I mean, people would actually go out on sightseeing tours to try to see jackalopes. There's no such thing as a jackalope. Never was. Okay. We got caught doing it, got our asses kicked, sort of, got type stuff. Okay. But we were in Flagstaff and we were hustling tickets for the Grand Canyon elevator.
Oh, no, you didn't.
And tourists would
No,
actually
you
buy them.
didn't.
$10 a ticket, and you got to have one for everybody. Otherwise, you got to walk down the trail or you got to take the mule ride. But there is the
Or
elevator.
the helicopter.
And people would buy the damn things, okay? Hey, when you're 12, 13 years old, you're running away from home, you're trying to get some money,
Heck yeah.
right? Tourists are an easy pinch, and I lived in the middle of a tourist community, so
There you go.
yeah.
I mean,
You use the
what is the name of
resources
that church when you go up to the Grand Canyon, that little church that's there? Going to the
There's
Grand
a chapel-
Canyon.
Yeah, there's a chapel.
The
up
chapel there, it is
it's
right to the ground. It's
not
like a
that
straight
anymore.
pyramid.
It's a lot more than that now. It's an interdenominational.
It is.
But there used to be a little chapel on the rim.
Right. And I put
the
my,
south
I
rim,
have my
yeah.
name engraved in the wood there. You know how it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But about the only thing up there that's original now is the El Tovar.
It's,
Everything else has been
El Tovar is
either
still
burnt
there?
down or tore down and rebuilt.
the El Tovar is still there?
Yeah. Oh yeah. El Tovar will be there for a long time. The tower's still there.
Okay.
And they built the tower before they built the El Tovar.
Yeah.
So the tower's been there since the late 1800s somewhere, when the first people went out and built this big round tower. It looks like a castle tower, but there's no castle, just a tower. And you could go up in the tower and you could look out over the south rim, and that was a tremendous, because you were up another 50 feet or whatever it was. So you could get this really broad view. And for years, that was the real tourist attraction, was you went up there and you went in the tower.
Yeah. I mean,
And they built the El Tovar when it became a national park. Then that's when they built the El Tovar.
now
and all
down at
that.
the bottom, you still have the natives down there, right? At the basin of the river.
Yeah, that's sort of a misconception.
Do they still
All the
have
way
it?
at western edge,
Right, western edge.
the Grand Canyon is what they call the Wapatki.
Right.
And there is where the Grand Falls are at, and people go there from all over the world, go there to see it. It's a beautiful area. It is actually the home of the people there. They've been there for more generations
donkeys.
than white man can count. Yeah. And the federal government recognized that they displacing them would destroy them. So they left them there.
They don't deal with nobody but people, nothing but everything that's down there.
There's two ways down there.
You can walk.
Three.
Walk, elevator,
three
or
is
helicopter.
you can walk and it'll kill you. You can ride horses or mules down.
Yeah.
Okay, because it's 20 miles,
It's
right?
20 miles to go down.
down there,
And it goes
or you
side.
take
Some
helicopter.
of them paths are really tight.
Right, and when I was in the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s, I was involved with Toys for Tots.
Which toy?
And,
I did that
the
when I
Northern
was like
Arizona-
86.
Yeah, the Northern Arizona Toys for Tots organization, one of our missions every year was to go down to Kavatki, to the village, and take Santa and the Christmas down to the kids in the village. And so I did 2 years, got to do that. It was really kind of cool because you get on a big, what are they, Sea Skyhawk or whatever it's called, the Marine Corps troop carrier, and big double propeller thing.
Skyhawk.
A whole bunch of us got on that. Blackhawks or Seahawks, something like that. And anyhow, so we'd fly out from the upper ridge, which is actually the town of Valley, Tucson. You're really not in the park. So the airport is not in the actual national park. So you're in Tucson, so you get on the helicopter there, and then you fly up, and they take you over the canyon, and then you go down, and they take you down to the village. and you land down there in the village. And then we had Santa Claus, the Christmas tree, all the presents, and every year we would take press. So there'd be, certain people from the press invited from around the country to come to, come to Flagstaff and be there to go down on the trip to take Christmas down to the kids, But that's cool. What they did was they actually created that overlook that is at the western edge. There's that, you can walk out on that glass round overlook, literally walk out over the canyon and look down. That is the Supai. They own that. They paid for it and had it built. When the restitutions money came through in the early 90s, when they did the big restitution thing and they legalized the casinos on all the told the Indians they could all have casinos. And at that point, the federal government wrote checks, and that's what the Supai people did with their check. They're the Havasupai. It's Supai Village, the Havasupai people, Havasupai Falls. Well, you said you weren't going to do shows with people anymore, so I wondered.
That's funny.
If that dog could talk, what tales he'd tell about Daryl and his friends, and he But the dog is cool, and he never says a mumbling word.
Only barks when he thinks about something. Unless you haven't fed him, and then he's a pissed off.
Have you housebroke that dog yet?
No, that dog's not housebroke. That dog's a god.
No, you're a schmuck.
No, he's a god. Grandma, look.
That dog found himself the perfect pet.
Yeah, he did. He found my mom. Back to the point. So I got a question. And in the adventures of Mrs. D over here on the line, what are some of the wildest places you've been and the wildest things you have done? And we're talking.
Have you ever skinny dipped in a group of 4 or more?
This would teach us about your political ideological thoughts. This will teach us about your thoughts. So have you ever gone
skinny dipping with a group
Damn, I'm getting messages off of that one. So let me go through these messages.
Told you, I'm a dirty old man. I don't apologize for it. It's just I earned the right. I got here.
Yes.
All I've got left in life is the fantasies and memories. That, other than that, the realities don't have any promise at all.
I have a reality. So let me ask you a question.
If you can imagine, Danette, the most exciting thing that happens to me all week is this show.
No.
Well, if he treats me nice, he can do more than one show a week. But he been pissing me off,
more than
man.
1 day a week, I would try.
But you gotta be mean to me.
You'd have to be relatively sober more than 1 day a week.
Well, relative.
That does not mean that your cousin is sober and you're drunk. Does not mean relative sober. It doesn't work like that. I could see you trying right now to type that out so that you can find it on ebook somewhere. Says here.
Okay, I have a question. All right, so let's go back to the question. The question
already
is.
Looked up the answer. He wants to see if I'm right. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. So I'm gonna ask both the question. What is the wildest experience you've had with a group of friends? And we're talking about party time, and we're looking at 2 generations, and we're gonna start with Danette, because Bob's been driving us crazy.
It's not fair. Yeah.
Well, we're just don't make me call Kamala Harris on you. Go ahead.
Well,
Kamala! I'm sorry.
I won't disclose.
What's the biggest concert you ever attended? Or did you ever attend one?
Hey, everybody. Hold on. I got to show you this one.
Who's that?
See her?
The girl that just found out she's having Daryl's baby.
Okay.
She's holding a pea stick. Look. See, it's Oh, is that what it is?
Damn. Which one of the justices? Look, which one of the justices fucked her?
Oh, okay.
I mean, the world has gone crazy. So let's go
Like
for
I
it.
said, the last thing men want to see.
I gave her a chance to think, bro. Let me get the answer.
Last thing most married men want to see, okay, is abortion disappearing. Are you kidding? It's their only out. Because you can't cheat with your secretary. She gets pregnant, you lose everything. The wife's got all the grounds, you're done, man. You broke the contract, you're screwed. Okay, but if you can give her $120 and send her off to Planned Parenthood and make it go away, woo! God damn, have you seen my wife's brothers? Whoa, man, no. No, I don't want to see abortion go away. You have no idea how liberating it was. And I think it was like 1968, 67, 68. When they first came out with the birth control pill.
It was called a bob.
Oh my God. I mean, no, because this meant that girls didn't have to be all uptight.
Like I said, it was called a bob.
About it. Okay, and guys didn't have to worry about it.
Why didn't they give men?
And it damn near put Trojan out of business.
Well, hold on. Let's listen to this lady
Okay,
here.
why does a woman have to take a pill every day?
And a man doesn't take anything.
I think it's a chemical balance. It's a chemical balance. They can't, it's like I can feed you, if you drink water out of your tap, right?
Chemical balance,
that's chlorine.
you're putting
chlorine.
a toxic substance into your body.
Yeah, there's chlorine in that water. If I gave you a teaspoon of straight chlorine, it would kill you.
Okay.
But I can give you chlorine a little bit at a time over a certain period, and it won't kill you.
Oh, like fluoride?
Yeah, so I think, I'm not, that's not my field. I'm definitely, pharmaceuticals are not my thing. Not that kind of pharmaceutical anyhow.
No, not that kind.
If I understand it, it's about, they give you certain enzymes or whatever in those pills, and you accumulate so much, but not too much.
But when a woman
that's enough to stop the process.
Yeah, but when a woman is taking those pills, she has a higher chance of getting cancer and having cancer because of it.
Oh, absolutely. And the ones they've got now, where you can take them, that started out, it was a 90-day pill.
Oh.
So you could take it for 90 days and you would not menstruate. Yeah. Or anything, right?
Yeah.
So now,
they got them now
they've got one for like a year.
Yeah.
That you can take this and they inject something into you, and it's in there for a year, and you can't get pregnant, except you can.
Well, there's this one that
5 years.
Yeah, 5 years. Yeah, 3 to 5 years.
But you
see,
know
how that would just mess
up
a young person's body. You got to think of that.
You're messing with their emotions.
It's like a swimming pool. Right? You have to constantly maintain the chemical balance of the swimming pool, right? Or it is not safe to swim in.
And it changes ever so often because of radiation, because of people's environmental.
The way that the female anatomy creates the various hormones, enzymes, etc., okay, it is all wrapped around the fact that she has to go through this process. So that the uterine wall detaches, and she goes through this, and then she starts the whole new process over and gets ready for the next time and the possibility of getting pregnant now. Okay, so this has to happen. If you lock that up, okay, back in the 60s, do you recall something? I doubt Daryl would know about it, but you might have heard about it as a young girl. Toxic shock syndrome.
Yeah, I experienced that.
You don't keep a tampon in for 5 and 6 and 7 days.
Damn.
You change it, right? Okay, I mean, this is what was happening. Women were used, the tampon came out, and girls were running around using the tampons. Well, they figured you inserted the tampon, it did its job for the 5 or 6 days that you were menstruating, and you were fine. Okay, and then at the end of that, you took it out and threw it away.
Did you?
It wasn't you needed to change that sucker 3 or 4 times a day. Okay, and what was happening was the dead blood cells and all that was coming down from the detachment of the uterine wall, okay, was toxic. It needed to leave the body, and it wasn't. So it was being reabsorbed, and they were getting, desperately ill. I mean, there were some women that died from it. Okay, there were major lawsuits and shit over it. But it really was a fact. They just neglected to tell young girls that you can't wear these things continuously.
Right. And then with these young girls that are having these things put inside of them that stop
Oh, I got
like
one for y'all.
a period for 3 to 5 years.
Oh my God! So you want a 5-year period?
No, they stop.
But what happens if on year 6 it doesn't come back?
They have infertility issues.
Why don't you just go ahead and have the uterus removed if you want to?
So what happens after a 5-year break? It doesn't come back. You're
right.
broke.
Your body is like going, no.
You shut it off for 5 years. Now it won't restart.
Right. Well, there's population control, right?
Hey, hold on. I got something for y'all to listen to. This is an important message.
Seems to be a constant drive in the background to a lot of things. You can attribute
TGIF
a lot of different
Patriots.
things going on.
What a week of winning. Remember one thing.
When Bob stops.
We are born with our God-given rights. The government doesn't give us any rights. They try to take them from us. But that's not going to happen. We were born with all these rights. And you want to know something? The fight about abortion, all it did was give power back to the states where it belongs. The federal government should have no say in anything. Just like they should have any say in our lives, whether it's freedom of speech, whether it's legal gun owners. These are our God-given rights. Never forget that, motherfuckers. Fuck out of here. This is called winning, winning, winning. Mwah.
Okay, the issue I have with her, right off the bat. Okay, now I'm going to say it. The issue I have with her, right off the bat, is the government is the one that gave us the rights.
No.
They're not God-given because they had to be put on paper.
No.
God didn't write the 10 Commandments?
First of all, does the Constitution of the United States govern you as a citizen, or does it govern the government in the name and defense of the citizen?
It governs the government.
Right. So the people collectively, 13 colonies a long time ago, said what rights should be ours that no one can take away. Because remember, they came from a rulership of a king where you had no rights, technically. Okay, the king dictated everything, and that's just how it was.
So if the king wanted, then it just have to happen?
Yeah, we're going to start this new country. What are those rights that we should have that are inalienable, that can't be taken away?
See, I'm about to get her a global hat, man. She's not wearing a GERN hat.
And we put those together, and we created a constitution which states that the government shall not, or the government must or shall, this, that, and the other thing. It says nothing about the people. See, it says the government will not pass a law that would infringe on the rights of the people to own and bear arms. Okay, that's a mandate to the administration, not to the people. It doesn't give us the right to own a gun. It says they can't pass a law that tells us that we can't own a gun. Now, they never passed, there's no ordinance in the Constitution which covers abortion, but there is the Declaration that says we have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I can say that I'm a 19-year-old female who's pregnant, and the guy that knocked me up, I wouldn't give him money to drive me to the grocery store, let alone marry him and let him raise children with me. Okay, what a moron. All right, so, I have a right to my happiness, and since I have a constitutional right to happiness, then I should be able to have this abortion. You can make a technical argument there, but they didn't tell you that you couldn't. They said, we won't pay for it anymore. It's not for the federal government, it's for the village. So let the village decide. That in this case, the states. Put it back to the state legislator. Let the populace of that state decide whether or not they want to fund and support this particular philosophical point. Do you want them or not? If the state says we don't want them here, then sorry. If that is a problem to you, I strongly suggest you relocate to another state. But they said in the ruling today, they said, and so the federal government can't come back later now and pull this, well, we're ordering the states to do this or we're ordering the people to do that, because they just said you can't do that.
You can mandate it.
You can't, the federal government cannot say that they have no voice, is what it says. The federal government has no voice in whether you do or don't have an abortion. It is not a federal issue.
Nope, not anymore.
That is a local community issue, and you need to have your arguments in the local community.
So you got to go to the state legislature.
There's no point. They're going to, if you outlaw abortions, you're still going to have abortions being performed in the back of hair salons, in dirty alleys, and women reporting to the emergency room bleeding to death because of a screwed up surgery.
Right.
Okay, that's what's going to happen. But you're
just like
any more
liposuction.
than you stopped alcohol consumption with prohibition. It didn't work. It won't work. It can't happen, and they're not stupid enough to try. They know better. They know they can't pull that off. They can't get rid of guns. Did you see that wimpy ass thing they passed that they sent to Biden to sign?
Oh my God.
The red flag law.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the boyfriend law is. I don't understand what that's all about. Something about a boyfriend clause. If my boyfriend was mean to me, I can report him and he can never own a gun. Is that the deal?
Yeah.
Something like that. Okay, but in reality, that has no effect on anything.
That means the men are going to stay
I'll
away
go
from
out
women so they can
downtown
shoot
and
them.
buy a gun tonight if I want one.
Just don't
And
shoot
I don't
me.
have to go to a licensed gun shop, and I don't have to pay for a permit. I can find a guy out behind a bar not far from here and buy it from him in the parking lot.
Yeah. All the time. I mean, that's Arizona, man. I mean, Texas, Arizona.
Well, that's pretty
New
much
Mexico.
anywhere in the country in
yeah.
reality.
Right.
Okay, I would say that it's just. I would say that there's 3 guys standing out behind the bar in your neighborhood. Okay, so where I might have 1 or 2 guys around
Yo, Roscoe,
town,
show him your
you got
gun,
3
man.
guys on every street corner going, "Want to buy a gun, kid?"
You talking about the guy with the long trench coat? He used to have drugs and watches, but now he's got
Go sell
guns.
these drugs for me, and money you make off of selling these drugs, you can come back and buy this gun off me. So don't worry about it, kid. Just because you can't afford the gun, it's no big deal. I'll help you earn the money to buy the gun.
You need protection.
Did you see the thing that Hopeful put out? She said, this was a quote.
This is
She
Oprah?
said, those people who are buying guns to protect themselves are scaring everyone.
But yet, look what the celebrities and other
Right.
people are doing
You
themselves.
know,
They're
the
buying
fact that
guns.
you all out there buying guns scares me.
Hypocrites.
I'm scared now that so many people have guns. You know what? The next yacht to Yaya Island leaves at 6 p.m. Please be on it. See, I would make the same
Saw that
offer
program
my father
going
jokingly
on.
made in the 60s. Okay, and they actually, it hit it, man. They were talking about it nationally. They actually talked about it in Congress. That when, that all the Black Panthers and that whole thing was coming up, right? It was all rising up and everybody screaming. And they said, well, as reparations, I'll tell you what, any black man who wants to walk up and sign the papers, we will give you an all-expense-paid cruise ship back to Africa. And all you have to do is step up and apply for it. And I would say that along the same line, that anybody who's that racked out right now, let's give them paid and let them go wherever they want to go in the world. Pay their fare. Hell, give them a severance pay. Give them a couple of months welfare. Put them on a boat, send them wherever they want to go. Put them on a plane.
You
send
know
them wherever they
something? I wonder. This is the problem I've always had.
You treat so much. Get out.
So many people have been saying, because Trump was in office, I'm going to leave. There ain't nobody leave. I hate America so
I would buy
much.
the ticket.
I'm going to
Please
leave.
go.
No one left. Black people, we should go back to Africa. Y'all motherfuckers don't want to go back to Africa. Stop
Hey,
lying.
how many people came across the southern border this month?
Actually, well, I thought it was 2.4 million.
2.4 million?
Yeah.
And this is the worst. This is the worst undemocratized, greedy, pig-headed capital society in the world. Needs to be torn down, needs to be changed, needs to learn how to love little bunnies and bumblebees. And 2 million people are busting their ass, risk across the desert to get here so they can be residents in the worst goddamn place on earth.
Ain't it just beautiful?
That sounds, I'm sorry. I keep getting this contradiction wire going bing, 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 bing. If it's so bad, why do they all want to come here so much?
Yeah.
I
Well,
have been to
Bob.
a few other places. This ain't the worst place on earth.
Well, Bob, we have literally 5 minutes left of the show. So I know we went an hour overtime, but we have 5 minutes left because we got other shows coming on right behind it. But the question I have for you tonight, Bob, is what did you learn?
About what? I probably learned a lot of things, but on which particular subject?
Right.
In less than 35. I'm not.
I found out Danette likes to go skinny dipping with large crowds and friends.
Well, that's a good one. Yes, I understand that. Yes.
She does it so often, or has done it so often, that she doesn't even want to talk about it.
Yes. That's about right. Yes. Just don't.
Hey, when you say nothing, you say more than you would have said if you'd come up with a good return.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? You know the old statement on not answering the question is like admitting guilt. Oh, see, now she's not even answering. So you know something, Bob? You're right. She does love skinny dipping. She didn't even
Like I said, she's been skinny dipping so many times she can't remember which one to tell us about, and so she's not going to tell us about any of them because she doesn't want to embarrass herself.
That's funny.
Not that she went skinny dipping. She's not embarrassed that she went skinny dipping. She's embarrassed about how often she went skinny dipping and with how many people she did it.
Man, the interpretations are great.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I learned tonight that, you know something? Bob's all right in my book. He makes you think even though he likes to piss a motherfucker off. Damn it, I learned something tonight. You can actually hold on to a 3-hour show. You're worthy, girl. Welcome to the network.
Anytime, I'm always looking for a sidekick. We could make him disappear.
Right.
You know, he could sit back there without a camera or a microphone and just watch the show
Yeah,
while he's
but there's
running
a
other
nice
programs.
balance here, though. There's a good
Yeah,
balance.
because I told him that in the beginning.
He's
I said,
an
I
agitator.
can't do this if it's just me. I can't turn the camera on and sit here and talk to the camera.
And she'll be off
I
on
have
weekends from
somebody
now
on the
on.
other side of the window to talk to, right?
And
Right,
she'll be off on weekends from now on, so we can switch between her, Lori, and Bree, and they can come on the show and
be
deal,
like
and
Dean
deal with
Martin,
your
right?
ass.
Right.
Virtually. See, that's
Well,
the whole
I
thing.
guess
See,
next time I'll
virtually.
be where there's light in here, right?
And it'd be so much
yeah.
more fun if I could get all the women right here in the room with me. But see, I only get it virtually. So.
Yeah, he's got all 5 fingers on both hands. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Bob, send us home.
Hey, this has been the Return of the Thinking Man. Thanks a whole bunch for tuning in. I don't know how many of you are out there. He still won't tell me.
There's 5.
At any rate, I
5
appreciate you
thinking
taking
men.
the time. I hope the conversation was inspirational and mine, made you think, right? Thought provoking. I want to thank Danette for being here and putting up with my nonsense and BS, and also for her opinions. And of course, Dr. D, the immortal Odin, who's sitting up there being what Dr. D, the immortal Odin is, which is, well, we could live without him, but what are we going to do? At any rate, thanks for tuning in. All I can say, wrap it up is there's a whole lot of people out there trying to convince you that you should look at what's happened from a very specific point of view and not consider the whole situation. And I would strongly suggest that before you jump on one bandwagon or another, think about the situation, find out, do the research, read a little bit. It's not that hard. I'm sure it's all over the internet.
It's got 10 words.
In the meantime, take care of yourselves, take care of your family, and remember, play nice with each other.